You heard in that live, I had an inkling from cosmic energy coming to me that I needed one person on my channel. I didn't know the reason why, but I knew that it would come to me. And that one person, that very, very special person, is on the screen right now. Mr. Josh, the old card shop. Josh, I know it was a last second text I sent you. And dude, you were all about coming on. I'm super appreciative.
Yeah, well, I feel like as you being one of my best friends in the hobby, it's obligated for me to, at a moment's notice, kind of drop everything. And I had a wedding I was supposed to go to, my table at card party. I had to sort of give it all up on the fly just to be. No, I mean, I didn't have anything going on today. I had a vet appointment that I needed to kind of hit, and early other than that, which was early. I picked up a huge collection of Pokemon cards yesterday that was much larger than anticipated. And so I've just been like furiously going through that, trying to prepare it for and get it ready to sell this weekend because it came in a big old hunky, chunky.
Oh yeah. Big old three ring binder. Love it.
Yeah, this thing was literally full. I mean, literally like stuffed. And it was actually quite nice because it validated some of how I used to store my cards and collect because this person stored his Pokemon cards and sorted them exactly how I did. It wasn't by like you put one in each slot and like the different types where you had the Magikarp from base set, then the Magikarp from gym, and each one had
Uh,
no all Magikarps went in one single. You crammed them all into one single sleeve in the
oh,
binder.
so it was one of those really chunky ones. Oh
Yeah,
boy.
so this thing had like every sleeve of that binder had 3 to 9 cards. There was some that
Yeah.
had 9 because it was front and back, and he would put like the Pokemon in each one. So bless his heart for putting a couple of those in sleeves because there were a few that were a little nicer.
Ooh, there you go.
First editions and stuff of like some Neos and some other like good unlimited stuff that he would sleeve some of this kind of stuff, you know what I mean? So that was a good thing, but
So
everything
you,
else just raw dogged it right in there, and the hollows were just on the top. So like for example, if there was Poliwhirl or Poliwrath, the hollow Poliwrath would be on the top, and then there'd be like 8 non-hollow Poliwraths from all the different types underneath it. So that's what I've been
interest.
dealing with in the last few hours. So this is a welcome relief of like getting to just talk instead of just the grueling sorting and backbreaking. I mean,
Yeah.
it's a lot
So
of sorting.
so tell me like a little bit about that binder. Is that something you had to search out? Did somebody come up to you? Was that at a show? And I mean, I both cards you showed, the Suicune and the Gyarados from Team Rocket, those both said like moderately play. Did you get any like real good near mint potential 10 contenders or what?
Yeah, so there was it's a funny story. The binder was kind of like something that fell in my lap, as a lot of things do in the hobby. You're just around long enough. I went and did a tasting in the valley a long time ago, years ago, the day that we got in. I don't ever do tastings in the valley, in the Napa Valley. To be clear, I live in Napa. I used to work in the Napa Valley,
Yeah.
and I would never in 1,000 years go to a wine tasting because not that I don't like wine, I'm not into that sort of thing because I totally
Well, that's
am.
what you used to do though. You used to
But
be the guy.
exactly. So that's what I used to do. So I wouldn't go to one willingly unless I was working. And in this day, I wasn't working, but this day was the day that I proposed to my fiance, and it was like a year and a half ago. So the guy was one of the guys that was our tour guide at one of the wineries. He at some point during the day, I had mentioned that I sold Pokemon cards during the tasting, and I don't remember it at all because I was about to propose. So I was a nervous wreck. So anything I said was just a blah, blah, blah. I don't remember it. So he remembered it, thankfully. And he reached out to me earlier this week and he's like, hey, I got this binder I've dug out of my storage unit. I know I'm a little late on this, but I see you're still in town. Can we meet up? And I'm interested in selling these. So I was like, yeah, I'll look at what you got. And I was heavily expecting this dude to give me the regular old binder from Watsy where you have like a page or two of hollows, maybe a beat up Charizard, and then
Yeah.
like a bunch of bulk in there. Dude walks up with that, and it's mostly mid era, starting
Mm,
mostly at like Neo with hardly any of the like earlier Watsy stuff. So
interesting.
very interesting collection. So I was more interested. We
So,
sat down, we talked. I didn't have the liquidity to offer him what I wanted to offer him in a fair price for what it was because it was much larger than I was expecting. And so I ended up actually just taking the whole thing on consignment from him. And I told him, I was straight up with him. I was like, look, I was prepared to spend X amount. I had like up to $1,000 that I was just gonna shell out for his like binder collection. And I think this exceeds that amount, this collection, looking at it after I just on a quick assessment. And I didn't want to give him a low ball offer. I want to be fair. And I asked him, I was like, hey, how quickly do you need to sell this? Like, do you need this gone? Do you need the money tomorrow for this? Or are you okay with like, taking your time and I can like see what the value is in here instead of having to give you a spitball offer on it right now in a public place? He's like, no, I don't need the money. So I was like, I pitched him. I was like, well, why don't I just consign it for like 85%? You take 85%, I take 15%. That's like what you would
oh,
sell it
dude,
for on
Josh, that's a little too 85%. That's generous and you doing all the work.
uh I told him with the caveat that I would only sell the larger things and then I would just kind of keep the bulkier stuff.
Okay.
So I just felt it would be like something that if he was okay with me maximizing, I would be cool just looking through his collection. And honestly, after looking through it, I was thinking it would be like moderately played stuff. The older stuff, like the Watsy stuff, is like really moderately played. Most of the like hollows from Diamond and Pearl era, and I could tell as he got older and was in the hobby a little bit longer and stopped just playing with it on the playground, just started collecting. There's a EX Tyranitar in there that's at least a PSA 9 that looks like it could 10. I'm like been looking at the EX Tyranitar from the Delta species one from Dragon Frontiers. So there's
Mm.
some big cards in there too.
So wait,
So
so
I'm
he
thinking I might
goes,
grade a couple for him too, and then just eat the costs on that to really maximize it out, and see what I can
hold
do
on.
for it.
Josh, you're telling me that's binder. I mean, obviously you showed the Blastoise from Rocket. So it goes from all the way from Team Rocket and then you're saying all the way up to Diamond and Pearl.
Yep,
That's like
absolutely.
a 7 year timeline plus, and you never see that
No,
because that doesn't work out for when
and it's
you the
unpicked.
age you
It's
turn you like grow
unpicked.
out of Pokemon, you're out of Pokemon by that.
Yeah, and he there's the base set Charizard, Blastoise, a couple Shadowless. Like Venusaur is a Shadowless Venusaur is in there tucked away too. So like it's unpicked. It hasn't been like sorted through or anything, and like he just that's why I was so comfortable saying like I'll give you a good amount for it because he was so comfortable just like sight unseen just throwing
Hmm.
me this binder, and I didn't want to just be like yeah man I'll give you $300 for this thing and honestly he would have been happy for it because he didn't know any different but I wanted to be really fair and I thought I could make more money off of it if I really took the time and not have to and then I wouldn't have to risk because I did not expect this stuff to be in light played or near mint condition. I was expecting a lot of these hollows like this Magnezone for example. This is near mint. This is a near mint Magnezone hollow. I was expecting this kind of stuff to be like, heavily played or lightly played, even, which is like a $2 card. As a
Yeah.
near mint card, that's closer to 10, probably $8 to $10, for a nice set. Uh,
Yeah.
so
That's a special buyer though that's gonna buy that though.
Oh, for
You know.
sure. Yeah, for sure. So I asked the guy, I said, how long do you have a time horizon? He's like, I really don't care. I was like, cool. I'm gonna look through your stuff. Give me a few days to actually see what you got here. I'll give you a good percentage, whatever it is. But I said all the bulkier stuff will just be like, the stuff that's under $5 isn't worth the time.
Can you like flash you got a handful in front of you? I know you're sorting. I kind of want to get a little.
First
Yep.
editions, first
Yeah.
editions, first editions, not first edition, but nice
Yeah.
stuff.
Okay. I mean, this is a little older than oh, there you go.
I mean, we're
How's
getting there.
how's the Neo Discovery one doing?
It's like heavily played, but it's still 120 bucks, man. And heavily played, or it's like 100 to 120 bucks for that card and heavily played. Charizard's
Yeah.
nice. It's like lightly played.
Yeah, that's the Shadowless Venusaur you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, a bunch of like, the
Oh yeah. Dude, that Sabrina's Gengar should have been in a
look
hollow.
at
I
these
don't know why it was in a...
shinies,
Yeah,
really good
Shinings. Yeah.
condition, lightly played, like the shinies from this one's
Oh
in near.
yeah. Yeah.
I mean, there's just stuff. This is near
I
mint as well. This
yeah.
legend card.
So,
This is
so it
light
goes all
played
the way.
plus near mint
So wait, it
minus.
goes all the way up to... Wow. Okay.
This is the kind of stuff that I was just like casually like. There's like a small little tiny ding in there, but
Yeah.
otherwise it's like near mint. So I put a little indicator on there. It's stuff like this, really nice. He kept this stuff in
Oh,
good
okay.
condition,
Yeah. See, it's
surprisingly.
this.
Like,
It's all.
dude,
Oh, you
two
got all the.
primes, it could get nines, I'm
Yeah,
pretty
all the way
sure.
up to Heart Gold, Soul Silver.
This is
Primes even in nines are a little rough though. Yeah.
right. No, they're not worth grading, but they're in good condition. Is my point. Is like he really did a good. Like you don't see people taking good care of their
Yeah.
cards,
Oh
and
wait.
then a whole
So
bunch of
wait,
like
that
hollows.
Pops you got Pop Series Vaporeon. That's from the 3-pack blister. You can't even get that in the packs.
So in just the style, I've been sorting through the bulk, and these are all
So
just pop
wait, did you get
series.
lucky? You get any non-hollow Pop Series 5, a little Espeon Umbreon action?
No gold stars hidden in there. The it validated the way that, like I was saying, though, the funny thing about this collection is the way he stored his cards is how I stored my cards too. And like, he put his unlimited cards on the front and his
Hmm.
first editions in the far back behind everything. It was almost like the oldest ones went to the back and the newest ones, even if it was unlimited or base set two, were up towards the front, as long as it wasn't a hollow
Yeah.
because I had a shining Magikarp that I found in my old binder that I forgot I had because it was tucked behind all my regular Magikarps. And I always wondered to myself later on in life, finding that, like, why did my young kid self not differentiate that from like, because I didn't remember, but it's not just me. It was other people did that too, I guess. So,
Sure. Yeah.
but
No,
yeah,
I mean,
crazy
hey man,
find. I
I'm
wasn't
happy you found that binder. I think that's awesome.
it's always refreshing to find those kinds of things because it gets you away from the doldrums of just kind of this kind of stuff,
Mm,
grading the
yeah,
same
just
20
super
cards
modern.
over and over, just literally
Oh,
modern grind. It gets you away from the grind of which is fine. Oh, here's the one card that I think will get a 10 in the
oh,
whole collection.
wow. What?
Pachirisu from shoot
What year is it?
2008. It's
Yeah, I was just I think that's is that Rise and Rivals? Rise, I don't know what set that is.
got like the little swirly. My
Oh.
camera is not good enough to capture it here.
So it's a one you think has a 9
No,
chance
it's gonna.
or a
I've looked
10?
at this thing for 20 minutes. The centering's nice. There's not a speck on it, and it was just raw dogged in the binder. Even the hollow has no scratches or no micro scratches. I was just like, this is a really low pop. If I didn't look at what the pop would be, but it's so funny because I was like, all right, the one single card in there that I think is worth grading probably not to do a PSA one of or something.
The
Um,
the Godly Shad said great encounters that card's from, he thinks. That's pretty cool binder though, Josh. I've maybe it's the cosmic energies like rewarding you too. Because when I texted you last night, you were like, "I'm going through this big collection," and then I didn't think you would still be going through it today. So it does show you how massive that is.
No, last night I typically can spend a few hours like watching Netflix and watching movies and stuff casually with my fiance and hanging out and not really needing to go back and do stuff. But I had the show this weekend, and after acquiring the binder, it wasn't going to be a quick like, okay, let's inventory it, flip through, take the good stuff out, look through back, be done with it. It was a more extensive job than that. I had to like cancel essentially my Netflix time and and just like all right, sorry, honey, I got so much I have to look through here, and this is a crazy collection. I'm just gonna be busy for a while. So it was fun to get something like that for sure, but it's
So
not every day.
So tell me now, you just mentioned you're going to two shows this weekend, and I think a lot of people right now are kind of just looking at the hobby as a whole, and I think a lot of people are running into liquidity issues, like just talking to people, especially a lot of people are grading cards, and either I wouldn't say the graded card market dried up because obviously that's not true, but we're just back to the days we used to be at when everybody out there used to say when you graded a 9, you either lost money or broke even. There was a lot of people, came up in 2020, 2021, and that sentence didn't even make sense to them. Like, how are you losing money on a 9? That's higher than a near mint copy, blah, blah, blah. But I think people finally realized the most simple definition of how true of a statement that is.
Can I
So,
can I share with you my most recent money loss venture, and then maybe
well,
if you
before
feel
you do, let me
comfortable?
ask you,
Okay,
what
okay.
are you selling? Are you selling a lot of raw at these shows, or are you selling graded before you show me?
So honestly, the shows, I'm selling a lot of everything. Like everything is selling really well right now to the point where I'm really low on inventory and it's becoming a bit of a problem, which is not a bad problem to run into, but like I've got orders at PSA that I just got into grading probably about a week ago that I'm already running out of slabs. So like even though they're going to only be about a month, I could use that next week. So I'm selling a lot of slabs, which is surprising to me because for a short period of time, I feel like slabs were not in high demand. And then I also am selling a lot of probably raw. I found that the raw Watsy era, like raw vintage, sells really, really well for me. I don't try selling a lot of raw modern. I don't really I grade a lot of modern and sell a lot of graded modern. And my cheaper modern will be in binders, and that stuff's fine. It just kind of moves slowly as it does, like my $1 to $5 binders. But I would say that everything is selling in Pokemon right now. Even the
That's good.
Scarlet and Violet. There are so many people because I don't deal in Scarlet and Violet. So many people ask for the Scarlet and Violet era stuff. I'm like, oh, sorry, kid. I only have Sword and Shield. I got Crown Zenith, so, Brilliant Star, Fusion Strike. What do you want, kid? They're like, oh, I wanted Temporal Forces or I wanted Paldean. I'm like, wow, this is wild, but
The
that's
moderner the better, Josh. That's
no,
the
and it's
moderner the
it's
better.
true. You're 100%. The moderner, the better, and so it's really strong, I would say, right now. But at the same time, like you said, I am running into grading fee liquidity issues where I don't want to buy a whole bunch of 151 right now, which is a decent price, but I'm confident I can get it for lower in the near future. So, and I also
Yeah.
know that if I were to buy at $55, which is a fantastic price, and lock up my liquidity, that the little bit that I did have, even though it's a good deal, I know that in the future it's going to go up. It's going to immediately go down for a little bit, and then nobody's going to want it. And I don't want to sell for a loss. So you're literally locked in without, unless you take a significant loss. So like
What's 151 selling at a show? Because if you could pick it up at 50 and
probably
put
like
60
70
bucks
bucks.
on it, you make a quick 20%. Is that
It's probably like 70 bucks at a show. I don't sell it right now because I don't get a lot of people asking about it. And to be quite frank with you, it's less of a whenever my neighbors have it, I see people asking about their boxes and they'll have it at market price. People just
Mhm.
have to see what they're selling it for and be like, huh, okay. And if it's marked up at all, like they'll just think I can get it online or later on it'll be cheaper. So there's no buying pressure. There's no fire under the consumer, there's no ire to buy it. And
Let me ask you about the fickleness of the Pokemon hobby. They could go buy that box from that person for 60 bucks, 70 bucks in person at a show. But because it's so cheap, do you think that that same box, if it was selling for 170, because that was the current market price, that it would be more likely the person would spend $170 on it than they would when it's $70? Because when it's on the way down, nobody wants to touch anything. But when it's on its way up or it's seen all its gains, then the fickleness of the hobby is just like, now I want it. Oh my God, I need this.
well, you already know the answer to that, but I
Yeah.
don't know if I'd call it fickleness as it is human nature of the hobby. Sure, it seems fickle on like first glance, but it's the exact reason why I'm not buying it right now to sell theoretically at $70 because you're not going to sell out at $70. You're probably
Yeah.
going to have to sell it at $55 or $60 at the shows in person because people are going to really strong arm you. They're going to say, "Hey, buddy, how about $60 for that $75 box?" And they're going to show you online how they can order it. And then they're going to say, "You're saving on fees, you're saving on shipping." And they have a good point. So you're
Mm.
like, "All right, cool. I'll take my $5 to $10 profit instead of my $20 profit." And
Do you
so you're
find that
splitting the
type of
profit
smart
there.
buyer though, who's actually truly haggling with you? Because
A
a
lot of
lot
buyers
of
will haggle. A lot of them will.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. That's one thing that I love, and I guess you could say you love and hate. I personally love that aspect about the shows. It's like a swap meet kind of thing.
Mm.
I intentionally, ironically, I was thinking about making a video using this binder and like this consignment because I don't do a lot of consignments because it requires a lot of trust, and I live in the same town as this gentleman, and we have a sort of a slight relationship before, and I have an online presence as well. So like there's a lot of like transparency involved with that. He knows
Hmm.
my online presence. That's how he found me in the first place. So it's very much so it's good for both of us. But I
Yeah.
don't do these types of consignments. But I thought it would be cool to make a video and title it like I sell your cards for over market price and be all about like how you can sell an Alakazam, like a base set Alakazam, probably on
Mhm.
TCG Player. This card for like a hot, heavily played is $6. You know what I mean for a heavily played hollow Alakazam
eight
at a
bucks
show.
maybe, yeah.
10, maybe 12, maybe
Yeah.
$15 in a binder with a bunch of other hollows on the same page. And so in the course of like 30 plus hollows, like Watsy hollows, even though TCG price is only like $3, $5 each, you sell them for 10 to 12 to $15 for like the Zapdos, the the slightly high the Gyarados, the slightly higher tier ones that aren't like in the case that are 20 plus dollar cards. You're getting higher than market value. They're selling a little bit quicker. People are just picking them out of the binder and they're getting great deals on them because they're filling out their sets for under $150 for their vintage sets.
Yeah.
And you're making out more than market. I thought it'd be a pretty funny video. Like, I'll sell your, everyone's like doing consignment for selling at market. Like, I'll sell your cards and get market, and I'll take the 2% profit off of it and get that razor slim margin. I'm out here thinking like, man, I want to sell this for like way over market at these in-person events just to capitalize on the convenience and advertise that as a consignment option because you could probably get both myself and the consigner could then win more in that regard, and it would just take a little more bookkeeping on my back. So a little more separation of inventory where it's like you have a consignee, which all the stickers would be just a certain color. And then, you have your stuff that all your
Yeah.
stickers are another color. It's
Well,
that simple.
when I went to the Charlotte Collecticon, I did do that. I consigned for people. And if well, so I consigned for a lot of people, but Rusty ended up bringing me this just gigantic box. He had these packs. It was 11 packs, and he had like 140 of them or something combined. And the box must have weighed, I'm not lying when I said I think the box weighed like 120 pounds. It was freaky. It was like a big, like I've
Like what kind of, is
carried,
it raw cards in the
oh,
packs or
I'm sorry,
graded cards?
packs. So Rusty was selling his mystery pack lot on eBay, and
Oh,
Rusty's eBay representative helped him design that eBay listing. And it was 11 random packs. So it was like two or three Japanese packs and then nine English packs or eight English packs, something like that. And because it was considered a mystery pack lot, they removed it. And Rusty had already sold like whatever, like thousands with an S. Like there's a lot of people out there don't have 1,000 feedback score on eBay, and he sold 1,001 like mystery pack listing. But anyways, they removed it, even though his eBay representative helped him create that listing, whatever. So he had a big box of them, and he brought them to me for consignment. But I was at Rusty's house earlier that week, so I have one Japanese 151 booster box right there. Rusty gave that to me when we were at Rusty's house. Rusty gave me this, like, the fossil uncut sheet pack art. Like Rusty, he gave us like a bunch of Avon Sky's God packs. They came out of Charizard UPCs. There were 6 Moonbrowns pulled that day, multiple Rayquazas. It was wild. Rusty's super generous. So I wasn't going to take a commission from that. But if I wanted to, I could have took $5 for every bundle I sold, and I sold all of them. So I sold a lot at the show. I sold a lot at the trade night, and then everything that was left over, I just sold to Nick Old School Pokemon. But I took $0 in commission. But my minimum commission was $5. So 140 times 5, like that's already a decent amount of money. I sold I think PokeKid's actually in the chat right now. PokeKid dropped off his Moonbryon. At the time, the Moonbryon in a PSA 10, he was asking $1,000. The lowest he was willing to take was 900. It ended up selling for 900 like 15 minutes into the show. It
It's
was
so liquid.
like the door, like people walked in, somebody so I was taking 10% consignment at the time, but because so it would have been $90 because it sold for 90, but because it sold so fast, I only took 50. Like I could have made I and then I sold like the corrected Typhlosion to Gem. I sold a lot of like consignment cards, thousands of dollars worth of consignment stuff. Rusty, I didn't take any money. I like took, but whatever. Consignment is a good way to go
It's
for
also
in.
friends, between friends.
Oh
So
yeah,
it's
dude,
totally
Rusty's too
different.
generous. I didn't care about that. Like, and then so I don't know if I did tell this story, but Rusty bought a box of VMAX Climax, sealed case, Japanese VMAX Climax. I think at the time cases were selling for right around $2,800, and he was like, "Hey, can I leave this behind your table? Because I just want to walk around the event." And I'm like, "Yeah, Rusty, no problem." So he leaves the case of VMAX Climax there. He just leaves. I give him a phone call. I'm like, Rusty, like, do you want this case of VMAX Climax? He's like, oh, I forgot I gave that to you. So I'm
Imagine
like,
putting
it
in the
must
whole
be nice to just
that.
forget
That's
like a
bad.
$2,800 case at somebody's table. So now I got this big, heavy ass box. Plus, I had the added weight of that stupid VMAX Climax case. There was so much weight. But I learned a lesson. I bought a dolly. It's like a foldable dolly. It
Hmm.
was like 60 bucks or whatever. So
Yeah.
it's super collapsible. It holds up to 300 pounds.
I
I
love
learned that
my
lesson,
dolly.
but
I got it from Costco and it's one of my best purchases ever.
yes.
It's so useful because even though I'm just doing local stuff and I don't get to use it at Collecticons, lugging your stuff from the car to and carrying it to your
Yeah.
table over and over is just when you're 30 plus, man, it's
Mm.
rough. It's rough out here.
But anyways, like consignments is a good route if you're doing that. But the problem is you got to be at your table full time. It's other people's stuff, so you want to and the way I am is I want to protect their stuff before over me protecting mine because I don't want to, you know, you just feel bad. Like you don't want your consignor to be like, "Hey, somebody stole your card, man." Because I did a financial guarantee and it was not backed by like an insurance company. It was backed out of my bank account. So if somebody stole your
Could have been
cards,
bad. Could have been real bad.
yes. And I was gonna, do that money. And then I told everybody with $1,000 ceiling per card, which I had some people drop off like Gold Star Vaporeon signed. I forget the artist who sold or who signed or who did the artwork for all the Gold Stars. It's the same
Fukuda, I
artist.
think Fukuda or Fushida or something.
Yeah. But it
I
was
don't
one of
know.
his signatures on the gold. I think it was Gold Star Vaporeon. But like I think we had a price tag of $3,000. We had basic trainers, Pony Chew there. I had a price tag of like $7,000. The amount of people that came by to take a photo with basic trainers, Pony Chew was ridiculous. But yeah, man, there's consigning's a way to go.
I feel like I don't do a lot of consigning because it just doesn't work out a lot for me. I'd rather just kind of be done with the customer because the customer usually wants just liquidity right then, and that's what
Yeah.
most people want or need. This is a very special situation, and I really didn't feel like just giving the guy like $500 and be like, "Hey, here's $500 for the collection," because I know
Yeah,
that
but
that could have
you're
very much
doing
been.
Josh, you got to value your time. You're gonna how many hours you already put into that, you know?
At least 3 to 5 hours for sure of solid sit down, right? So
Yeah.
I know that I'm going to get my money out of it though, and especially the bulk, because just out of stuff that I feel like is neat. Do you have a favorite artist, PK?
Uh, well, uh, I do have it, but it's like a biased favorite artist. It's Ariga, not Arita, Ariga,
Yeah.
because I met him in person. I got to sit down at the panel. He signed, my favorite cards for me.
Mm-hmm. Is he the one that did the Pikachu, the Ashes Pikachu? Okay, yeah, or that Pikachu, the Cosmic
Yeah.
Eclipse one. That's the one I was thinking of. Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
that's a good
So
one.
Hitoshi Ariga is my favorite personal artist because I've only ever met one artist. I was there for like the small sit down thing. I got to ask him a lot of questions. Um, so like I got to ask him about his background, but one of the things is his boss was Ken Sugimori. So that was one of the things I asked him a lot about was like because one of the cards he did is if you know the Blastoise from like the team up like uh like the starter decks for team up, there's a Blastoise artwork. It came in like the Cosmos Hollow.
Oh, yeah.
So
Hmm.
he did the artwork. It was like whatever. Every set has their own, starter deck. This one was a Blastoise. And I asked him, I was like, what's it like when your boss is Ken Sugimori and he created the original Blastoise artwork, like the iconic Blastoise we know from base set? What's that like? And then he was able to answer that question to me, and he's like, when I first made my very first Blastoise artwork, I drew it copied like his style, and he's like, and I handed it to Ken Sugimori for him to like kind of like sign off on it. Did he like this artwork? And Sugimori pushed it back to him, was like, no, man. While I created like the image for this Pokemon, you have to now make it your own. So because he copied Ken Sugimori, and Ken was like, no, man, you got to make it now your own. So then he went back to like the drawing board and then re-sketched it in his own style, which obviously you could only change the style of a Pokemon so much. A Blastoise still looks like a Blastoise, but he made it his own. And just hearing those stories from him and the fact that I was the one that asked that question to get that answer means a lot to me. So.
I totally respect that because I don't have anything near as cool of a reason for why I like my artists or anything. But I understand why Ken would feel that way and tell the other artists, be like, no, dude, you got to do it yourself. Because like I was always the student in school who was getting copied off of
Mhm.
because I would get good grades on tests typically. And so I would let the other kids do it. I didn't care as long as they didn't get
You
me in
just
trouble for
scoot your
it.
paper to the side a little bit so they can
No,
look
no, no.
at.
I'm not going to do all that because that might get me caught. But I didn't mind. I would let them. If I knew someone was copying, I wouldn't like try to stop them or something. But if it was like my homework and I knew they were doing it, if I saw what they were doing and it looked like mine, I'd be like, yo, no, hold on. You don't
Yeah,
do exactly what I do. That looks like you copied me. No, you got to at least change it a little bit because like
sure.
I'm going to get in trouble because like I personally don't care if you copy my work because it's only hurting yourself. But it don't hurt me, don't bring me down with you, you know what I mean? That was my logic as a kid. So I get Ken, he's like, yo, don't copy my work because I don't want to make it look like, you can copy it, but make it at least look like you didn't.
Yeah.
But anyway, the artist thing I always come back to. I asked you because whenever I take these collections in, one of the things that always stands out to me, the main artist that always stands out to me, and I think most people will probably agree with this, is
Saito.
well, no,
Oh,
it's
oh,
Yuka Mori.
yeah,
It's the most standout artwork in the whole hobby to me is always these little clay figurines that
yeah.
Yuka Mori does. That's so prolific that as I'm going through collections, like no matter what, every set there's at least one Yuka Mori card in it. I
Mm-hmm.
always set aside those cards and I make it. I think like, do I need to start collecting Yukamori in a binder, just like a binder of Yukamori cards? Because I feel like she's so unique and striking. So like I
Yeah,
think
and
she might be my favorite artist.
yeah, especially all her cards she did. She had like a whole run of them in like Versus series in Japan, which again, English is very, very like, it's like the Hitmonchan is the one that really sticks out to me when I think about her artwork from Versus series. Like very, very claymation-y, but yeah, she's one of the real ones. Yeah, the
All the
Ditto.
Dittos, every one of the Delta species Dittos was her. Just like I think she does like a bunch of the one of each species is kind of her goal is like to do one of all of them eventually.
Yeah,
I don't think there are any repeats. If I'm not mistaken, there are no repeats, I don't think.
that I can that I don't know off the top of my head, but I feel like there might be like a Machamp repeats from
You might be
Pokemon.
thinking Adachi because in my travels, I have been exposed to another look-alike artist who also makes very cool art in the Pokemon TCG who's been doing it since the beginning. And I always thought that some of Adachi's work was Yukimori's work. But there's a distinctive difference between Adachi and Yukimori.
Hmm.
Adachi has a sort of a very more comic booky look kind of to it. Whereas Yukimori, it's a literal clay figurine that you can tell is like the background is blurry because she's taking a picture in reality of a clay figurine, where Adachi is making like a clay looking 3D rendered kind of art that looks like a clay image. So I think you might be thinking about Adachi potentially.
Maybe. I don't think so though, but I could be wrong. But
I would just that would be what my money is because I also thought there were several that were not Yukimori that were Adachi, and I was like, oh, okay, there's another artist that has a style that looks similar. And then I went into a deep dive and tried to figure out how to tell the difference. And it's the background. It's always the background for me that I can tell the difference.
um I want to there's been a couple questions in the chat, so I figure
I don't have the chat up, so you're gonna have to kind of take
yeah.
the cavalier on the chat.
So Maze1234 said, "Be honest, PK, do you think Japanese reprinted Sword and Shield boxes is a sign that they'll be doing it in English? I feel like we've seen this play out before. Do you think we're gonna see I what the Japanese market is doing right now is really weird, going back and reprinting like Eevee Heroes and shit like that. 151 makes sense.
Yeah, yeah.
English 151 makes sense. I'm not talking about, but do I think Sword and Shield's going to get reprinted? No. I think we've moved out of the Sword and Shield block. I think one of the big caveats for why I don't think it's going to happen in English is because of that MSRP price change. I think that is a huge barrier for Pokemon to now go back and reprint Sword and Shield boxes and have to list shit for Sword and Shield prices when all the Sword and Shield prices have now changed to that new Scarlet and Violet MSRP. While it might not matter to us on the secondary market, it does matter to Pokemon when they talk about main distribution. So because of that MSRP price change, I don't see it happening. Any Sword and Shield product that is currently being trickled out into the market through Pokemon Center and stuff, I think it's the end of whatever we're looking at. Now, 151, sure. Paldea Evolved, which is Scarlet and Violet, I think is more likely sets like this. So that's my thoughts.
I mean, I tend to agree with you in this one case. I think in any other situation, if we didn't have that MSRP increase, I would say it would still very much so be on the table. And I do want to caveat by saying that even with the MSRP increase, I don't think it's implausible to think that it's off, that it's like not on the table at least a little bit if things go bad with their sales of future Scarlet and Violet sets,
But
but I don't think
it's a
things are
yellow
going badly
borders
enough for
too.
them yet.
Well, it's a yellow borders too. While I'm not saying like yellow borders are end all be all, like that's not I'm just saying there's too many things.
Yeah,
Like yellow borders, probably not.
yeah,
MSRP price change, probably not.
yeah,
Shit all going out of rotation really, really soon, probably not. I just think it's
yeah,
those three things. And at the end of the day, the last thing I mentioned is shit going out of rotation. This is still a TCG. It's a
yeah. And
trading
that's the
card
one that
game.
we're normally used to seeing is the out of
Yeah.
rotation thing. And so, like, if it was just that, and if it was just the yellow borders thing, I would be more inclined to say no. I think that we could still very much still get it. but since it is all three, I think you're probably I'm inclined to agree with you on that uh factor. I think you're right that we're just seeing trickled out now the rest of the Sword and Shield product that's kind of put into the tins. We just have to, you got to think about it. Like, there's a lot of Sword and Shield printed. Like, it doesn't mean they're currently still printing it or there are reprints that are coming out. There's just a lot of that shit out there. So,
Mm.
so I think that it's just, yeah, like you said, maybe just a little more of that. So, it is weird though, like going back and doing the Japanese EV heroes, like
It
such a
is weird,
weird
right?
way.
It's weird. I think it's in a way like Japan really putting their dick on the table and being like,
Yeah.
hey,
We're done with this shit, this
we're done
reselling
with it.
shit.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
that's Japan's way, like really like just saying
They don't like it, man.
they don't.
They cut the thing at the Pokemon Center so that
Yep.
you can't resell it, and they shame you.
Hmm.
They shame you if you think about
They're
reselling. It's
yeah.
wild.
Well,
I've never seen that.
well, you had the resealed booster boxes, and Japan added that pole strip, which obviously the pole strip doesn't really work, but it doesn't matter. They changed the whole design on that
Yeah,
booster box. They added that pole strip. It felt like overnight. It was like boxes are resealable. Next wave, pole strip. It's like, whoa, 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 whoa. What is going on? So
yeah.
I think Japan's making a statement with this. Real quick, we did get a super chat. Clocks Collect said, "Need a second opinion. Would you trade an EX 3-pack blister for a Fusion Strike case and a Japanese 151 case? I paid $500 for the blister a few years back. Not even knowing what packs are in that blister, I'm gonna go on a limb and say it's like probably like Hollow Phantoms, Dragon Frontiers, and Crystal Guardians. Like, are those the 3 packs he's probably talking about? That's
That's
tough,
what I
man.
would get. It's one of those. There's a ton of them right now on eBay. There's some dude who's dumping a whole bunch of them in the next 6 to 10 days. So if you're in the market for those 3 packs and you want to see what the real market value is, I recommend you go check eBay out in the next. I'm going to be watching. I may even be in the market to buy a couple of those if they go to a certain price. But yeah, those things are super rare and super niche, and I think they're really cool. But I don't value those as highly as I see other people valuing them, but I also don't value the modern Fusion Strike as
Yeah,
at it's at right where it's at right now, like that. And I definitely don't value 151 cases at the prices that they're at a week ago or something, which is I think what the price was quoted at. So like I probably wouldn't do that exact trade, but I'd definitely be looking to get out of my blister, my 3-pack blister, into a modern product that hadn't already really exponentially gained in price. So like
yep.
I would be speculating a little bit
Hmm.
more on one of a more I don't want to say Scarlet and Violet, but it might be a Scarlet and Violet set. So like when Paldea Evolved was really cheap, there were a few people who were actually actively saying it was a good set. It was a lot of character rares people liked. You know, it was good character rares in it that were chaseable, and then the trainers were good. All these things were indicators, and then kind of the sets going. There were a lot of indicators with Paldea. Something like that, you had a lot of time to buy in on when everything else was kind of already expensive. I would be looking at the next Paldea evolved type thing. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? That would be I don't know personally. Some
yeah,
people want to be more safe about it, and that's why they like buying into things like Sword and Shield block after it's regained its value once where it's on the out of its rotation. Because look at that conversation we just had about Sword and Shield block. Like you're pretty safe as quotation marks air quote safe as you can get with Sword and Shield block with sealed booster box cases at this point, as long as you're confident in the market,
yeah,
because like they're probably not going to reprint them, right? So like even though they've already captured a ton of that price and they've gained a lot in price as of recently, I don't think they're going to lose a lot per se. So I think you're safe at least.
yeah,
So it's really a matter of your own. It's hard to. I'm sorry, it's not answering the question. It's really
yeah.
sitting.
I wouldn't do it. I'm just
Yeah,
gonna I straight up wouldn't do it. I think
yeah,
like because at that point you're talking Fusion Strike and Japanese 151. Japanese 151, it's on the way down. It might trend sideways for a while. And now what are you valuing the Fusion Strike boxes at? 225 a piece. So 225 times 6, that's 1350. You're gonna value a
almost eight
Fusion
hundred.
Strike case
Yeah,
at 1350 when 6 months ago you could have got it for 700, 800, and it's like those blisters are not easily replaceable.
No, and they're expensive. Like just
Fusion Strike booster boxes are.
yeah.
Japanese 151 booster boxes are. You're giving up something that may be the only thing you may never own another one. So like percentage increases if you're going to break it down like maybe the booster box cases will do better because maybe like your EX bliss 3-pack blister is going to trend sideways for a little while, but the thing
That's
is
where their
it's
head's at, and I like where their head's at with it
but
though. So
the EX blister is a good if you want to have like a more safe investment, meaning when I can see other stuff crashing, I can't see that EX 3-pack blister. Like it's gonna trend sideways, but it's gonna be a good store of money. I would keep it.
I mean, those things run between 1,500 to 3,000, I think,
Yeah,
depending
yeah.
on what
I've seen them
packs are in it.
sell for 2,700.
Yeah. So
That's
it really depends on what's the packs are. If it's like a Diamond and Pearl era, like some of them have one EX pack and then like two
yeah.
Diamond and Pearl packs in them, and then those ones are maybe I might be you value them a little under, but like PK said, it's like it's probably not going to drop too much because it's already
So
done what it's going to do.
he
Whereas the
said he
modern
said
stuff,
the three
you never
sets.
know.
So Harlem Phantoms, Dragon Frontiers, Power Keepers,
Oh, bro,
three gold star
that's a
sets.
banger.
Three gold star sets. I
That's a
mean,
three
that is
thousand dollar.
cream of the
Yeah,
crop. Plus Dragon Frontiers. So you have you have the Charizard Gold Star Chase, Power Keepers. You got the Gold Star dogs, not the Unseen Forces dogs, but Vaporeon, Jolteon, Flareon dogs, and then Holland Phantoms. You still got the Shining Gyarados, the Red Gyarados. You got the Mewtwo.
there's good
You
stuff in
got
all
the
those sets.
Pikachu. I mean, come on.
And it's probably got
Pikachu,
like a
Gyarados.
Vaporeon on the front or something as a promo or some cool promo on the front, some good Pokemon, you know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, you're talking three when you talk about Gold Star, later Gold Star set. I mean, those are heaters right there. Dragon Frontiers. I the
It depends on
chances
what
of
their
pull.
intention is, though, because it's not like that thing's gonna really triple in price in the next 2 years. It's
No.
gonna slowly, possibly, if Pokemon does well, just go up, as the market does. Whereas there are things that you could speculate in that you could get on the ground level that I think you could probably double, triple, quadruple, but you could also maybe trend sideways the same way. So it could very well go in the opposite. So yeah, it just depends.
Yeah. But I like it. I think it's this is a personal bias as I'm holding on to 3-pack blisters. I'm not picking up Fusion Strike and Japanese 151.
I love blister packs, man. Blister packs are cool.
Yeah, yeah, agreed. Well, and the thing about blister packs, is, especially for those later Nintendo stuff, it's guaranteed on Wade too. Now, I'm gonna give Josh a little shout out. Maybe this will make him mad, maybe this will be happy, but if anybody out there ever has pack weighing questions, this is one of the things I always talk about in Pokemon. If you're deep enough down the rabbit hole when it comes to what is a heavy he said Holland Phantoms, Dragon Frontiers, Power Keepers. What's a heavy Power Keepers pack weigh? I don't know. But it's not about, you don't have to know the answer for every question, but you do need to know is where to find the answer for every single question. And the man on the screen right now has the answers to those questions. So Josh on E4 is one of the very, very few mods for the Google spreadsheet that exists for all pack weights. And this is a database that has been accumulated over years and years and years.
Shout out to
Tons of
Wise
people.
Whalmer. Wise Whalmer on E4 is the original maker. He's the one who actually still is the main mod and does the majority and has done the majority of the work. But during the pandemic, while I was doing my whatnot pack breaking days, I was hitting him up often enough and annoying him so much in his DMs to add to that pack weight database as I was working through Unseen Forces, Neo, like Neo Destiny. I pulled shinies, I pulled EXs. I haven't pulled a crystal and I haven't pulled a gold star before, but I've pulled all the other. I pulled a level X. I pulled primes. I've pulled no legends. I guess I haven't pulled a legend yet. But so all of that in the last 3 to 5 years on whatnot. So I was adding all that to the pack weight database. So thank you, PK. I
Yeah.
appreciate the shout out. I
So,
always get people reaching out to me about that, but you don't have to reach out to me per se. All you really have to do is Google Pokemon pack weight database, and it will take you to E4, the Elite Forum, and take you to the spreadsheet, and then you can click on the Google Sheets, and you can see a huge a pack weight database all the way up to like I think black and white era it goes up to, and a few other people have added to it as well since then, and it's pretty extensive, and
yeah.
it's by no means is it foolproof because it's just a
Mm.
few different data points that are added, and pack weights, if you know anything about them, they run a bit of a gambit depending on
Oh,
print.
Neo Destiny. Like, if there's one set, you'll never know it's Neo Destiny when the lightest pack out of all of them will have the shiny in it. So, yeah.
Yeah, I purchased 5 packs of Neo Destiny, unlimited packs from Alaska at one point from this guy. It's some dude who found them in his closet in Alaska. I bought them online. He shipped them to me. I was worried that they'd be all weighed out, but at the same time, I knew what you just said about Neo Destiny. Since you can't really weigh them, it doesn't really matter. And the
Yeah.
light packs often have shinies in them anyway.
Yep.
So I weighed them out when I got them, and luckily it was a nice spread. There were two really heavy 21 plus grammars and then three that were like a little lighter. The exact middle weight, the one that was like 20.73, which and anyone who weighs packs in the WotC era, you see 20.73, you're not thinking really heavy. You're thinking
No, you're
that's
thinking light. Yeah.
middle to light.
Yeah.
And
Depends on the
especially the
box,
Neo
though,
era.
too. But yeah.
That one had a shining Noctowl in it. That one had the shining Noctowl. And it was just like you never know,
Did
so
you
it was
open that for somebody or did you open that for yourself?
no, I opened all my packs for other people. I never opened packs for myself except for the few that I opened at Collecticon, the EX Sandstorm packs, because that's
Love
my
myself
personal
some
favorite pack.
Sandstorm.
So I love opening Sandstorm. Like
Mm.
I'm a Sandstorm aholic, like a
Dude,
shameless
shout out to Basic
lover.
Trainer. The Aerodactyl from Sandstorm is still, in my opinion, the best EX that exists.
It's a badass looking card. It looks so
Yeah.
different than the other ones. I'm all about the regular non-hollows in Sandstorm. I like the vibe, the desert vibe with the oasis, and you get like the water types are always in the oasis chilling, whereas all the other types are like there's a cactus behind them, and they're like, oh man, yeah, he looks like he's coming out of the cave,
It's
basically.
it's a mean Aerodactyl.
Yeah, I love that look, that green kind of like sheen that he has. It's so different than any other Aerodactyl you see. But yeah, EX Sandstorm to me is my favorite set to just open up. I've gotten pretty lucky at that set, just when it comes to like non-hollows, grading them and selling them to get my profit back for what I paid in the pack. And then I've opened some great hollows. I'm still to this day going to keep opening EX Sandstorm until I open my chase card in the set, which is the beautiful, beautiful Nishida Jolteon hollow in the set.
Mm,
It's
yep.
the best Jolteon that ever
I
existed, in my
I was
opinion.
just about to say the Jolteon in EX Sandstorm is one of the best that
Yeah.
exist.
Until I open that one hollow, I don't even care about the EXs. I could keep on opening EXs, and I'll still need to keep opening Sandstorm until
Yep,
I get that Jolteon, and I can get it in a 10, and I can keep that in my personal collection that I graded myself. I'll probably keep opening Sandstorm packs because I just love that set.
definitely. Uh, so yeah, people are saying it's great encounters that Magnezone you showed earlier. We're
Okay.
pretty far back. I'm gonna have to go
Yeah, I
down.
don't even have it pulled up because my YouTube is just not. I don't have anything going on my computer. I'm just kind of on the Zoom. Dude, I haven't
Yeah.
used Zoom in a long time. I use StreamYard for most everything. Have you not gone over to StreamYard yet? I'm surprised.
I'm on the way. Dude, I gotta get rid of Zoom. I don't know. This was just the problem is when I first started going live, Jake from Pokenomics was using Zoom back in the day. And
Yep.
I was like, oh, okay, like I don't know how to go live. I'll just use Zoom too. And then I started using Zoom and then it just became super easy. Oh God, this is a Josh question. All right, you ready? The Godshad said, I do have a theory of what happened to Hidden Fates. Because if there's a Hidden Fates person, that exists. It's Josh, the old card shop. My man has been waiting for Hidden Fates to go above $170 in ETB for 3 years now. He goes, I have a theory what happened to Hidden Fates will happen to Sword and Shield. Something will steal the spotlight and the boxes slash cards will be stagnant for a bit. They've run up really well. We'll see it. That's an interesting comment. What do you think? Because we did see that happen with Hidden Fates. And for anybody out there watching this, maybe not familiar with the Hidden Fates market, Hidden Fates at release was really, truly one of the first scarce Pokemon products that exist, meaning modern product was readily available at the time of a million Shine and Legend specialty set boxes you could pick up on any Target, Walmart. Hidden Fates was the first one where we saw true demand and it was really hard to find. You had to actually sometimes drive around the multiple stores, and then eventually Hidden Fates had a huge price increase all the way up to $300 per ETB. And then Pokemon said, okay, we're going to reprint Hidden Fates. They reprinted Hidden Fates. They reprinted a shit ton of it. Like the Gyarados, Raichu, Charizard tins. There was a million of them, but there was so much demand, it just ate all these up. And then the ETBs, while they were MSRP for $49.99, as soon as it hit the shelves, as soon as it hit Pokemon vending machines, they'd be gobbled up. But after the reprint, we saw ETBs settle from $300 to right around that 150 mark. And then they've more or less traded sideways from that reprint to today. So that's a little history lesson. Now I'll let Josh talk about Hidden Fates.
You know what I sell evolving size booster packs at local shows?
Really?
No, do you know what I sell evolving size booster packs
Oh,
at?
15 bucks probably.
Yeah, $15.
Yeah.
They sell between
I
5 and 10 per small local show, and at collect cons, I'll get bought out with whatever I have left in my dispenser at like bigger shows. So
yeah.
that's the price, the going rate. Some people sell them for like $12, and those people always get bought out when they're there. I'm not one of those people who's like looking to get bought out of my evolving skies at a lower price. I'm one of those who's the next price is going to be is $20 a pack when I raise the price. So I'm comfortable sitting on at 15, but it sells. You know, I also have Hidden Fates packs at my table. And I sell those for $15 as well, PK.
Really? 15 for Hidden Fates? I would have thought
I mean,
20.
I have them marked at 17, but I'll sell them for 15 typically.
So
And
you'll have Evolving Skies sell out before
compared to
Hidden
Evolving
Fates.
Skies,
What was that?
you know how often I sell those compared to Evolving Skies?
I'd say 5 to 1.
Yeah, so I sell five. That's actually wow. You must be good at Pokemon or something because I was gonna say
This is my
I sell
first day in this
five
hobby.
times as many Evolving Skies at $15 than I do at Hidden Fates at 50. Okay, they're 17, but I'll do them at 15 if you buy
Sure.
a couple. So like I any day of the week would a million times take the Hidden Fates pack because it's like Sun and Moon era, it's
Mhm.
older, scarcer. You can still get Evolving Skies at the grocery store, all these reasons. But like the reasons don't matter for some reason. And my small little smooth brain doesn't get it either. Godly Shad. I don't know what the hell is going on with the Hidden Fates. But to say that I think the same thing's going to happen with the Sword and Shield era, that's very interesting thought because I mean it would take me and you, PK, spending a good amount of time just unpacking what really happened
Yeah.
between Vivid Voltage and Chilling Reign because it wasn't alternate arts alone. I mean, the Urshifu kind of went off. It was like $300 for the VMAX Urshifu when it came out. But the VMAX Pikachu is still very much so a desirable chase. It wasn't until Chilling
Yeah.
Reign and then after Chilling Reign Evolving
Well,
Skies that we started seeing
even before
alternates.
Chill and Rain with Shine and Fates, like Shine and Fates was so hyped.
It was hot. People wanted that
Oh,
Charizard still. So
fire,
like
yeah.
we have to unpack what the shift from rainbow rares and full art rarities like the shiny hidden fates type cards, where that shift moved to alternate arts. Because to say it was just alternate arts came on the scene, something better existed, so people automatically wanted them. It wasn't as quick as that, and it wasn't that exact thing because alt arts have already been on the market since Sun and Moon, and they weren't hype. That Latios was under $30 all the way into the like sixth or seventh set of Sword and Shield era. So like it
Well,
wasn't alt arts alone that people loved or the scarcity of them. So what is it, PK? What do you think?
it's a good question. Removing booster boxes out of the conversation, a lot of Sword and Shield has like sold sideways for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And by what I mean by that is packs. Sword and Shield packs, Rebel Clash packs, Darkness Ablaze packs, Vivid Voltage packs, Shine and Fates packs, Battle Styles packs, Chillin' Rain single packs, Fusion Strike single packs. All that shit has trended sideways. Meaning, if you went into Walmart and you bought a blister pack for $4.99 or whatever the hell they sell for,
You'd be under.
it trended sideways. And I literally just named the first half of, to be honest with you, when you're talking just packs, you can go past Fusion Strike and you can say Brilliant Stars and Lost Origin and Silver Tempest. And you could do, with the exception of Evolving Skies, because I skipped Evolving Skies, but Evolving Skies packs, single packs, doing great. All other Sword and Shield packs, sideways. Think about it. Maybe you have one pack is selling for $6. Ah, that's not that great. I mean, booster boxes are where all the gains have been. ETBs for certain sets like Rebel Clash, the Rebel Clash ETB, tons of gains. But when you think about removing booster boxes, so much Sword and Shield has trended sideways for literally its entire life cycle. And the unfortunate reality for some of this stuff, like loose packs of Vivid Voltage, I don't know, when does Vivid Voltage become a $15 pack at the next Collecticon? I don't see it happening anytime soon.
Mm-hmm.
Evolving Skies makes sense. Vivid Voltage, we'll just name all the sets again. Sword and Shield, $15 packs. Rebel Clash, 15. Darkness Ablaze, Vivid Voltage, Shine and Fates, Battle Styles, Chillin' Rain, Fusion Strike, Brilliant Stars, Lost Origin, Silver Tempest.
Celebrations.
When
I could
do
see
any of those
celebrations.
packs hit $15? Like we're seeing Evolving Skies.
Do we count specialty sets? Because I could see celebrations in the Sword and Shield era actually
Okay,
getting to a higher point.
maybe. Yeah. I
You
mean,
know?
sure. But even when you think about like Champion's Path,
Oh yeah, that's I guess
that was August of 2020,
it's a
you
$10
know.
pack.
So Champions Path August 2020, Vivid Voltage November 2020. It's like, does Champions Path get the $15 a pack for a loose pack? And if it does, when you talk about selling 5-1 Evolving Skies over Hidden Fates, how many Evolving Skies do you sell before you sell one pack of Champions Path now? So now you replace Hidden Fates with Champions Path because now Champions Path is a $15 pack in this hypothetical. It's it's dark.
So like why is it that people are obsessed now with alt arts though, and they don't like rainbows and they don't like shinies anymore? Because it seems to be the case.
People only like what other people like. It's the same reason as when people didn't like tag team cards, and then people started liking tag team cards because prices started going up. Problem is a lot of the stuff is just not selling for crazy premiums. The second this shit starts selling for crazy premiums, then people will like it again.
Would you say that you were surprised by the recent run up on alt arts that we just had at the end of this Sword and
Yeah,
Shield kind of run?
it made sense, but I was surprised at the crazy dollar amounts everything went up.
Because I
Like,
think that what you're saying is right about there being a lot of the packs and them all going sideways, and a lot of it is still out there, and people are still ripping it. And I think there's still a lot of those alt arts, and I think that people had them. And it's just, I think that what caused it to go up was maybe what you're saying is a little less organic and a little bit more hype driven. And I definitely didn't. I was a little surprised by that. I was a little bit surprised because I would have been okay with the sealed going up. That made sense with the singles going sideways because
Hmm.
that's kind of what happens over as it organically depletes, and because people open it up. There's more of it out there. Sealed kind of slowly goes up in value, but the singles going up really, and then the sealed also going up. That surprised me a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, it I'm so deep into the market, it's not really, and nothing really surprised me, but like the crazy run-ups we saw with some of this stuff, if it didn't surprise me, then I would have had like bigger positions in a lot of these altards.
Like the VMAX Umbreon from Brilliant Stars, I didn't see that going from like $25 to $30 to $50 or $60
Yeah.
overnight.
No, maybe not overnight, but it does make sense. I mean, there's just so much Umbreon hype going on right now.
When you think of it that way, yeah, but you can apply that logic to a lot of things that are still cheap, you know what I mean? And then the justification is kind of like, why does it work here
That's
and it doesn't work here?
that's the vintage argument, right? Why does this work for modern? Why does it not work for
I just
vintage?
mean
And
within
then
modern,
this
even.
this is
It
the
is the
scary
vintage
thing too,
argument,
is
but
the moderner the better. So the dangerous thing a lot of people have to think is what happens when we move completely out of Sword and Shield and then there's the next big thing. What a
yeah.
lot of people will say to you is they'll give you the argument, yes, PK, well, that is true. People will like whatever the most modern thing is. People will always go back to Sword and Shield because that is what they're most nostalgic for, because that's what they came back into the hobby. That's what people will argue for you. But then you got to ask them the question, what is the set that most people came back for? Vivid Voltage. The Vivid Voltage Chunkachu was selling in a PSA 10 for $1,500. The Vivid Voltage Booster Box was selling for $280.
Mhm.
Where are both of those products? But by that rationality, they should be expensive because their argument is, well, people are going to go back to what they got back into the hobby and they got back into Sword and Shield. And remember, Logan Paul was October 2020. Vivid Voltage was November 2020. So by that argument, it goes, these sets should be worth way more money. But then the argument could also now move to, well, they came out with alt arts. So everybody moved away from that. So the alt arts will be what people care about. But then you can make that same argument. Well, what happens in the future when the new rarity that we don't even know is gonna come out yet? We don't know exists yet. Well, what happens when that comes out? Are people gonna go, well, PK and whatever comes out after Scarlet and Violet, they came out with Pikachu wearing clothes in every set. Obviously, Pikachu with clothes on in every set is way better than Sword and Shield Altards, PK. So people are more nostalgic for this stuff. Like you could always change that. I'm I don't know. A
Well,
little
I think
ranty.
that was the point he was making, is that what happens when that happens, and that's
Yeah.
his argument, is that he thinks that is going to happen when that next rarity happens. And I don't know, I do think that, like, so okay, so to put it to that end of perspective, like when that Pikachu was 1,500, the Altar Latios was probably under $200 in a PSA 10. You know what I mean? At
Yeah,
that
I
point.
mean, it was actually creeping up. It was probably right around $500. That was right around the time of Twice Baked Jake fucking pumping Latios
Well, when he
Latios.
pumped it, it went from like $20 to $30. That was the pump at the time.
Was it that little?
Yeah, I remember wanting to buy one, but thinking I was him and hawing about it, thinking like $30 is a little much for this card for what I want to pay for it, because I just thought Twice Big Take just pumped it to all hell. And I was
Hmm.
looking at it, I was like, $30, nah. I'll just buy a Rayquaza from Shining Legends for $15 instead. And I bought two of those. I
Hmm.
remember looking at my
I do
my
like a Shining Rayquaza, so
and at the time I was completing my Shining set from like Shining Legends, so I was slowly getting those. And I was really budget friendly at that time. I wasn't selling Pokemon for a job or anything. It was just like strictly a hobby that I would get a little bit here and there, buying packs at the market, looking for hidden fates, really, honestly. So yeah, it's really hard to say. Like it's crazy to say what's going to happen next, because looking back at things, it doesn't make sense to my mind, even having all of the information in front of me, working through it all, having dealt in that market the entire time, buying up and down the whole thing, I still don't get why alt arts just in the last couple years from Sun and Moon just had their crazy run while Sword and Shield had their run like before that, as it was that made sense because it was being pumped by the YouTubers. But then suddenly the Sun and Moon ones had a crazy run up, and like they're still kind of up now. So there's a lot that can happen. You never know, and I think a lot of it is driven by social media. Like I do a lot of work on the side, a little bit of work on the side for some consulting agencies, and a lot of the consulting, I can't get into details of it. A lot of it's asking a lot about social media. Like it's these companies, most of these bigger companies, when they're asking about Pokemon, it's from a vantage point of like how social media impacts it and
Oh,
how that impacts the market specifically. And those are a lot of the things that like I get at, like, you know, continuously from different sources. So
we see it happen when a YouTuber pumps it or even inadvertently pumps it. Think about the Aerodactyl V from Lost Origin when Pokerev was chasing and he didn't pull it. That card went from like $70 to 120 overnight. You got to understand that that is a set that PokeRev was literally open and at the time Lost Origin, the most modern set that was out, nothing else came out after it. He was able to single-handedly one person take a chase card and increase the value of that card almost 100% overnight. When you talk about market cap of how many Aerodactyl Vs from Lost Origin exist, it's in the hundreds of thousands of that card exist. And one man doubled the pop. Hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of value he put into that card overnight. That is preposterous. And then even CTR, when Ryan's doing his little mini chases he does every
mhm.
Friday night, and you look at the TCG player chart, every single time he does one of those chases, there is a spike in the TCG player. Even like the Conquer V from Pokemon Go, a dead card, right? Like Pokemon Go, a dead set. He went and chased that card and it had a little spike and it went from like $2 to $3.80. That's a lot of money. Like, so social media is huge.
I mean, it's the living effect, is what it is. It only takes a few comps to start the waterfall going for certain things to start happening. So, like, uh, even if I mean, even if it doesn't make sense and people don't agree with it, if people see it happening and they see it multiple times, they're more likely to think it's real and repeat it.
Yeah.
So, like, that's why it's very, very dangerous in this hobby to the comp culture is very, very dangerous in this hobby. I see people coming up at the show. One of the funniest things that come up to me is sometimes people will come up to me with slabs that they have a very distinct value in mind for what they believe it is worth and what it definitely in their head is worth. And then when you pull up the comps and say,
And
I'll
it's
take an
always a
85,
ZNG auction and it's always
it's
the lowest
it's
price.
an
Thanks a lot,
anger.
Jim, if you're out there watching this.
Yes, and it's James, you know, shout out to ZNG. He's nuking the market with these auctions and he's doing a great service for the market, providing that selling outlet. And we can't wait for him to be back, by the way, because we miss him. But
And
at
we
the
could
same
talk
time,
about Cam getting his PSA job too. We could talk
we
about
do
that.
need to talk about that because
Yeah.
congrats to Cam. I was so happy. I was so proud. Not
Yeah.
that, you know, but I
So
was really happy for
Cam's
him.
actually coming on in like a week or two. I reached out to Cam before they announced what his new position was. So he's coming on in like a week or two.
That's exciting. That's
Yeah.
really cool. You're gonna have the whole PSA staff on your
Yeah, well,
roster.
when do I get on the PSA staff, Josh? I've been chilling PSA forever, but
Listen, after this live, because I wanted to talk a little bit about PSA and it was going to be an inadvertent shill for them. And after this live, you may have more of a shot because I think you and I are probably going to do a little shilling of PSA in the end of this live because I wanted your opinion on some things.
okay,
Um,
interesting.
but yeah, shout out to Cam by the way with PSA. Congratulations, man.
Yeah,
That is
so I
awesome.
guess we should kind of like let everyone know. So if you don't know out there, if you're not following the ZNG Instagram account, which I highly recommend you follow, Cam did take a position at PSA working with the new PSA eBay vault. So I'm sure it's a great position. It was so good. And this is coming from James's mouth that they offered Cam a pretty decent offer for him to go with them, and Cam turned it down to, follow this eBay vault thing. So, Cam, if you're out there watching this, buddy, congratulations. This is one of those very, very few hobbies where people are just always rooting for you to succeed. And Cam, we are all super happy for you, buddy.
Yeah, so
100%.
congrats, Cam. But anyway, at the
Yeah, yeah.
shows, one of the most common things that I have people come up to me that's the most laughable and cringy is when they have a value in their head, an inflated value of this card because they think it's worth X amount because that's what they bought it for, that's what they saw a comp for, etc., etc., etc. At one certain point. And then they don't realize it's a non-fungible good.
Mm.
It's not like set in stone any value. So when you show up a comp that's a little less than what they're expecting, the remark is always anger. And the next remark that they always say is, well, it's only going up in value. That's a low comp. It's only going to go up in value from there. That's the lowest it's ever going to go because it was a little lower than what they bought it. So at that point, you always know you're not going to be able to work out a deal with the person. So I always just casually send them on their way and say, all right, well, that's fine. I'm sure you'll be able to find another buyer for it. So just check. There's a lot of people in the show. Look at seeing my case. I'll trade for it at 85% of this comp or whatever, but that's about the best I can do. So that's usually how it goes. But what I want to say when they say it's only going to go up in value, I always want to be like, then why are you fucking selling it, bro? If you know it's going to go up in value, why are you so desperate to sell it right now? It's like,
Yeah.
yeah, so it's, people are funny. Just that's you never know what something like is going to do in value, especially something in the slab department.
So Alex Schelt said, finally got my first Pop One sale. Sold the EVIR from Twilight Masquerade last week. Oh, he must have express graded the shit out of that card to be a Pop One on that bad boy. Now I'm fully addicted to rush grading. Oh yeah.
I don't do that, man. I know that you're really into it, but that's
I
something
haven't
we've
done it
always talked
lately,
about.
but yeah.
You haven't been doing it lately?
Lately, no.
Okay. Why? I feel like lately it's been like the eating's been good for that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah, just life's gotten in the way. Just
Okay.
tomorrow we're doing a joint birthday, my two kids. So both my kids are born in June. They're born 6 days apart, so we're doing a joint birthday. One of my kids is one of my kids is three. I just been so busy with birthday weeks, and work has been brutal, man. I've yeah, so I've done,
You do a lot of traveling for work. You drive around
mhm,
and do a lot of outside work, right? So
yeah, a lot
it's the
lot of traveling.
summertime, so it's got to be hot.
What was that?
It's got to be hot because it's summertime, you know what I mean? So
Oh, yeah, yeah. I mean, always, yeah. I mean, I put at a minimum like 1,500 miles, 1,000 miles on my car a week. So like 4,000 miles a month on vehicles. But I expense all the mileage and
oh yeah,
everything.
for sure.
But yeah, I mean, I have clients all over the place, so it's tough. A lot of driving, but like that's one of the things I talk about is I love like Pokemon content I can listen to because while I'm driving, I put my earbud in. I don't have to look at my phone while I'm driving. I just listen. Some people listen to the radio and I just listen to Pokemon shit the whole time. So,
Yeah, I get a lot of that time in the weekend when I'm commuting, going to I travel up to 2 hours for like a local show, and in the summertime I have one every single weekend so that I stay busy. So I'll sometimes have to drive though in order to really fill those weekends and make sure that I'm getting a show in. I'll have some commute time, and especially on the way back, it's traffic. So I get all my Pokemon like long form content watching
do
in
you do
on the
2X?
weekends.
2X?
No, I'm not a 2Xer. I am one of the only
I'm
people
a
I feel like who
2X
don't.
rider dyer.
You guys sound so weird when I 2X it. I can't do it. You sound like chipmunks, and I feel like I enjoy the listen so much more when I hear your real voices that I feel like 2Xing it feels wrong. The only caveat is I'll 2X it when I'm catching up on a live that's
Yeah,
actually happening, you know?
actually happened. Here, I'm gonna let you talk to the chat for 1 second. I just gotta run and take a piss.
Yeah, so chat, I'm gonna actually pull up the YouTube here because I am not even being able to see the chat right now. But how are you guys doing? If you haven't subscribed to this channel, you definitely should, to PK's channel. But if you haven't already joined my Discord, I recommend you go join my cardboard collecting. Like, it's a live selling show kind of Discord that I'm trying to pump a little bit. By trying to pump, I say that because like I don't do a good job of it, but I would really like to grow that Discord so that people are posting their local shows and people can use it for a reference point and kind of like go there and see if they want to go to a show this weekend, say, oh, something's happening in my area. Let's go to the Discord and check it out. So I don't do a lot of chatting or a lot of moderating yet. So I'm still sort of working on that element. But if you do want to go, highly recommend you go to that Discord and join because I'm trying to make it a little bigger all over the US. So then more sellers can kind of have more utility and more buyers can kind of find more shows locally to them. But anyway, I have YouTube pulled up here. So what do you guys think? Am I the only one who doesn't do 2x, or are you guys 2xers when it's not like a live thing? Like, do you listen to YouTube on 2x? What's the story on that? 1.5x is the best speed. Okay, okay. Yeah, I feel like 1.5 is a nice healthy. I haven't tried that one yet. That one probably would feel like it's like you suck some helium up rather than a full-on chipmunk. It's like you took a little hit of helium and your voice is just a little higher pitched. I would probably be able to more handle that. But at the same time, I was never one of those that tried to do that helium trick growing up. So I don't know if I do that either. But yeah, how many other people are shameless and just watch at full speed and they don't 2x or 3x it and they waste all their time watching Pokemon content? I'm pretty sure that YouTube is like my number one thing that I watch in on like my streaming platforms. I watch it more than Netflix, watch more than all that, and it's never 2x. So 1.5. So a lot of 1.5ers, couple 2.0s. So yeah, that's I mean that seems normal. I feel like PK is one of those that's he has to listen to like every single live stream that's out there to stay up with the market. I'm personally okay with being a little behind on the market and I get to streams maybe a little later. So sometimes I'll find a live stream a week later and that's okay for me. If PK isn't getting a live or 3 lives out every week, he's starting to twitch a little bit and starting to feel weird. So it's a little
Yeah, there
different
was
for
a
him
while I was only
probably.
doing one live. Oh, and if anybody out there does not know, if you guys do enjoy long form content, we got 120 people watching, which I appreciate you guys. But if you guys do enjoy long form content, Josh has the Cardboard Hands, right? Cardboard Hands is the
Yeah,
name of it.
cardboard hands, yeah.
Cardboard Hands podcast with him and Retrospecs. It's a great listen. I've been a guest on it one time in the past, and yeah, it's like every time you guys post an episode, it's a guaranteed I'm gonna watch it right away. So
Yeah, I mean, I feel like that podcast is one of the only things that I've done consistently in this hobby for like years now. We're going on over 2 years for it.
wow.
And yeah, thank you. I appreciate you shilling that for me because I don't shill it enough where I should. I should really shout it out on every single live stream I'm on because I'm so proud of it.
It's a great listen. You guys have like a good dichotomy between the two of you because you do have opposing views on a lot of stuff. And I don't think a good podcast is just agreeing on everything. I think you gotta disagree and you guys have like a good balance. And the thing about Pokemon is you're gonna agree on most stuff because of what the hobby is, but it's the nuances you're gonna disagree on. You guys have a good like rapport, so
Yeah, and it's always been that way. Like the person in the Discord that I butted heads with the most back when before Nick was actually my co-host, whenever there'd be lives or whenever there'd be people in the chat, if there was someone trolling me or poking my buttons the most, it was Retro Specs and it was Nick. And so like for the longest time, I think he thought that I didn't like him or we thought we were kind of like button heads a lot until I think one day I approached him. I was like, "Hey man, I really like our interactions. I feel like you're one of the only people who really will push back and like we have good solid interactions. Do you want to maybe come on and be on the podcast sometime just as a guest host? Like cuz we was on the podcast at the time as the main co-host for it. He was the
the
original
Flex
one.
Gods, for anybody that doesn't know, he goes
Yeah,
by.
we is the Flex Gods. He's
Yeah.
a fantastic YouTuber who rests in peace, his YouTube channel. by no real reason. Every time he does post, he gets thousands of views, so he does get good. Whenever he posts, it's great videos, but he's out there grinding away at sports cards, so we lost a good one to sports. But other than that, he's great. But anyway, before Nick, there was I had Nick come on just because I liked our interactions. I liked that he would always butt heads, and I thought it might be fun to have someone on who would be really like not argumentative, but someone who would actually have an opposing viewpoint and not be afraid to stand his ground. And so I had him on, and I honestly loved our interaction so much, just in person, like via the so because we'd only talked on Discord before that. Um, I was like, dude, you got to come on and be a regular thing. You got to be our third co-host because like I love what you bring to the table. So it's so nice to see how much he's grown over the last couple of years on the podcast too, because like he started off not really being very confident in the market or as confident in like the Pokemon side of it. And now I'd say he's outgrown any he's a professional and an expert when it comes to like the Japanese side of things. When it comes to anything, I go to him and I ask him questions about certain things with Japanese. Whereas he does that, I think, with like English stuff with me, which is always the case because I've just been doing it since I was a kid. But it's really more impressive to me seeing how much he's grown. And his eBay's just exploded. His business has gone crazy. He's recently been doing the sealed Japanese stuff, which he is, I'm pretty sure, the best place that you could, one of the best places. I would say the best place you can buy like sealed Japanese 151 boxes right now. I saw him
Mm,
doing for $55 shipped just
um,
recently, or 50, I think he said 52 if you bought a certain amount too.
yeah, I think that might have been a friend's deal.
No,
I
it's on
think
his story
retro's
thing.
he's got real competitive pricing, but I've been able to find cheaper.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, so you can
Yeah,
find it cheaper. I've seen prices at like 40 something even. But I just
I
mean like
haven't seen that
in
low.
bulk. Well, on Sneaker Dunk, if you look and you get the promos and the discounts, you can get it
Okay.
down to 40 something a box, even after the shipping and after the extra fees they tack on and stuff. Same thing on Facebook. I've seen certain sellers, they'd be unshrinked or
Yeah,
not
unshrink
unshrink.
wrap
They'd be
boxes, yeah.
shrink wrapped but not cases. So loose boxes, but still shrink wrapped. And they do like bundles of 30 plus. There'd be odd numbers and you'd have to buy the whole bundle, but it would come down to like 40 something dollars a
Mm.
box. So you can get it cheaper, but like just to get a few boxes shipped, I'm pretty sure 55 is about pretty as low as you're gonna find on a regular basis from like an actual store.
Yeah, those unshrink wrap boxes where I think like the big buyer pool is just if you're a breaker. Like if
Yeah,
you're a breaker and you who cares? Like as long as you could verify the seller's not selling you tampered with product or search product, like your upside for non-shrink wrap boxes are huge as a breaker. Now, if you're looking to resell the stuff in the future, you're really compounding and adding extra layers of difficulty for you as a reseller because now the buyer in the future now has to take your word for it
yeah.
that you bought it from this person and that it didn't get searched and resealed between the time it made them from then to you. And then if you are super, super, super unlucky and that reseller potentially bought it from somebody else and it was tampered with and it was searched, the person you sell it to now down the line, they don't get that master ball chase or something. That's going to be on you. And that's going to be really, really tough. But as a breaker, all day.
Yeah, I mean, if you're just breaking it down, I feel like it's decent, but it's such a minuscule difference, the shrink wrap versus the non-shrink wrap, that at this
Yeah.
point I would probably just pay the premium.
It's the
And
same thing with the sealed case premium. A lot of the sealed case premium, I was seeing $3 a case, and I saw $2 a case, or not $2 a case, $3 a box, $2 a box, and it's like if you're gonna buy a case of 12, you could spend $2, spend an extra $24. Yeah, that sealed case premium, it's worth it in my opinion, but I don't know.
yeah, and it's crazy though. So speaking of those prices, I was looking at other prices because if like 151 is 40 bucks or 50 bucks a box, like you got to think like what is Shiny EX, the new Shiny Treasures EX set at?
30,
And
35, yeah.
no, it's at $19, $21 a box. So like
Oh,
You can
It's
find
it's that
boxes
low.
for $20 on some of these apps. Like if you look at
Um,
maybe on even what's the other one that was really popular for a while that people were using, the Chinese company that's got banned.
Macari.
TikTok.
Oh, TikTok. Oh,
TikTok, yeah, that's right. I forgot about them for a minute. I don't really use them anymore. I for a flash in the pan, I used them, and then I
you were
they
selling on TikTok for a while, right?
and then they burned me really bad, and I was like, never again, not
Yeah,
selling
their
on here
customer
anymore.
service, like fraud protection was shit, right? That's what a
It
lot
was
of people said.
horrible. Like they locked up like probably $500 of like product money for like 3 months, and they just were so uncommunicative about it. If they would have just sent me one single like message that was giving me a little bit of like faith in what they were doing, I would not feel the level of like discomfort I do selling through them. But like their seller support is god awful, and I don't think anything's changed that. So I would be wary selling on TikTok if I were you, if I were thinking about selling there. It's all fun and games selling on TikTok until one of your customers tries to scam you, and then you have to go through the customer support and deal with it. And then you have to wait for their little reserve, like whatever rules they have for that with like returns and crap, and there's just no information. And it's just more of a pain in the butt, and it's annoying, and it's not worth to me, not worth it when I could just sell anywhere else.
Yeah. I had no clue that boxes were that cheap though. Do you know what like Japanese distribution prices is? Obviously, we kind of have a feel. Nah. Yeah.
I wish I did, and I've asked many times, and I've never gotten clear answers. The people that I'm buying from, are buying from resellers who are buying from resellers. You know what I mean? So it's never from the source because the problem is you're physically not allowed to sell Japanese product outside of Japan.
Overseas, yeah.
So the distributors are really closed lips about who's leaking, how they're leaking it out to these resellers. But you
Hmm.
bet your bottom dollar, your bottom yen, that they are leaking it out and not selling it to their customers in Japan. They're selling it overseas for far, far bigger premiums, but they're just not telling anyone. They're saying, go sell it on Facebook. And if you say my name once, I'll come and find you and take
Mm.
out your whole family, Yakuza style.
I believe it. Yeah. Yeah.
There's just so much money to be made, and there's so little incentive to like give away those secrets outside of the country and to foreigners, to no doubt, like to Americans, like filthy Americans. They have to hate us, man. They have to hate us for stealing all their product.
Josh, what do you think the lasting impact? We mentioned it, we kind of dabbled in it earlier this live, but what do you think when we talked about, I think Japan's just printing a lot of this stuff to like kill the market, but what do you think the lasting impact of this is? Because one of the craziest wild things I saw happen like in the last couple of years where people started to think that Japanese cards always sold for a premium over English, and that was like the most preposterous comments I've seen some people either say or type in chats or write in comment sections like ridiculous, never the truth. But I think a lot of those people got a big, like, harsh reality check. But what do you think the lasting impact of stuff like this? Because now everybody who loves Pokemon now they're living in a crash when it comes to modern Pokemon. Do you think there'll be a lasting impact, or you think this is more transitory in a sense?
It's hard to say. I really don't know how many. So, like, as being someone who buys and sells so much and so aggressively, and I'm so like involved with other sellers more than I am with other collectors. When I got into the hobby and got onto YouTube, you almost like as a badge, you to prove yourself as a YouTuber, you had to have an extensive collection. It felt like this. This isn't the case. There was never anyone who said this. There wasn't real gatekeeping happening. But for some reason, it felt like you had to be a hardcore vintage collector with PSA 10s of like really low pop, cool stuff. And you had to flex that in order to be like respected as a YouTuber. And like being a collector was first and foremost the most important thing about being a creator. And then somewhere along the way in the pandemic, like things kind of shifted and it became more seller oriented. And maybe it's just because that's the groups that I got into and those are the rabbit holes of YouTube that my algorithm pushed me on. But I found that there's less and less of that like collector based focused stuff out there. And it seems to be more of like it's less of a flex to flex your collection more of a flex to be like, yeah, I don't have a collection. I sell everything because I'm out here to make that money, baby. And it's all about the flip. And like holding slabs is not really a popular thing as like investment purposes. Maybe sealed product is, but
Oh,
like slabs. So like I
Josh,
wonder how many of the
I'm
normal
just gonna,
people.
yeah, I'm gonna let you know your YouTube algorithm must be really, really refined at this point. That's just pumping out that type of content to you.
Okay, so that's what I worry. That's what I worry about is
If,
that I'm really
yeah,
insulated by YouTube,
if
you
you
know?
go into incognito mode and
Mhm.
don't do like a bias search term, don't write Pokemon invest in, but just type in Pokemon with an incognito mode, so it's getting rid of like your algorithm you've made through YouTube, and
Mhm.
it's all like Pokemon Unite, Pokemon opening. It's all in no, it's actually really, really tough to find anything even close to invest in content.
Well, so if that's the case, though, I really worry about those collectors then, because those collectors, the collectors who are watching that type of content, the ones who are watching my content, they're buying and selling. I'm
Yeah.
literally yelling at them to sell their cards in every podcast, like to the point where I don't know why people still watch my podcast because I'm so rude to them. I'm like, sell your collection, sell it now, and
Yeah.
I'm always encouraging that. But I mean, tongue
Well,
in cheek, but
you, I'm not, I don't want to throw shade at Dan because Dan threw shade at himself in his last Pokeflips podcast he did, but Dan talked about he was always just such like a stickler for you gotta only do buy it nows. You don't do auctions because buy it nows, you could be patient and you're gonna get the price. And if you do a buy, auctions, you're gonna create low lists, you're gonna, get low price. It's gonna really be detrimental to you as a seller. And it's buy it nows or bust. But now Dan's really coming like to understanding the importance of auctions too for that liquidity factor. Because Dan was talking about just going back and auditing a lot of his cards, and some of his cards, the dollar amount he mentioned was he had a card listed for $300, but current low list is $100. And when he made that card $300, that was low list at the time. And instead of just low listing it at $300, waiting a couple months, repricing it, now he has to be low list at 100. If he just put that card at auction, no, he might not have got his 300 now buy it now price, but he might have got 200, 250. So in the end, he would have actually made out way better on auction. So, you know, there's that aspect too, where a lot of people just they want to pinch every penny and they don't understand like this market. And I'm not saying that about Dan. Dan understands the market,
yeah, yeah. So, but the point though
but
is
the
really
importance of
though that
selling,
those
right? Like
people,
keeping the money moving, I should say. Like,
yeah, so we're like that. Dan's like that, but I worry that if the average consumer is more of the collector who just buys when it's high and when it's popular and holds on to it and doesn't sell regularly, I worry how much punishment that their wallet can take and their collection can take. Because even though it's out of their wallet and their collector, they intended to keep it, forever is what the whole collector mindset is. You buy it, you don't care about the price. They really do care about the price to a certain. It still doesn't feel good when your $500 waifu card that you bought is $100 now because the Japanese waifu market just collapsed. And so like, and that was the most popular thing, and everyone told you, yeah, buy waifus because they're investment grade. And now like that no one's talking about it. So yeah, sure, they're still valuable, but that's not so like I worry about that type of person. And I guess if what I'm saying, if what you're saying is true about my algorithm and it is more collector based and it hasn't shifted to more of like, yeah, it's cool to sell your cards, it's good to kind of be liquid, people got really wrecked with who hold slabs.
yeah.
And I think that that's a, I don't know how much punishment those people would take, like, or could take. I think it's dependent on the person.
I
Like,
think it's never ending, Josh. I think they could just take punishment forever. And the unfortunate reality when you think about it is think of in Pokemon, I can name way more people in Pokemon than I can in my personal life. Like I might be able to name like 20 best friends in Pokemon. I can name what feels like 100. And out of those 100 people, They've all extracted money out of this hobby, right? They've all made money in this hobby. I don't really know any big losers in this hobby. So if all those people have extracted
They're all
money,
sellers that you know, though.
yes,
How
but
many
all
pure
that money
collectors?
had to come from somewheres, right? How much money has Rusty made? How much money has Dan made? How much money has Nick Old School Pokemon? Just those three people, all that money gets taken by the people that are going to keep doing the plays. Like that's one of the things. It's like, well, tell me why you're super bullish on this hobby. It's like, because I think that money like never really dries up, and I don't think it's in a predatory way either. I feel like you have an item that other people want, and you're just facilitating that trade because all we're doing in Pokemon, we are middlemen in every single transaction. The
Mhm.
person selling Pokemon cards is Pokemon Company. They're putting those cards into a pack. We aren't dealing with that. We are acting as middleman in a transaction. We are either selling that card raw, shout out to Professor
Yes.
Oak, or we're grading that card. We're acting as a middleman, providing that service, sending it away to Graydon, doing all that. We're just we're a middleman, man. Like,
That's the beauty of it too, though, is that our specialty is finding that perfect forever home for those cards. So
yeah.
like
And you
that's
could say you're providing a service to
yeah.
those people. We are service providers in a sense. Now, it gets convoluted because a lot of us, like, we have that collector's gene too, and we got that degen gene too. And, we get in and we're like, this is mine
Use some of
now.
this profit for my own loves.
Yes. Like,
Yeah.
mine,
Yeah.
mine.
Maybe I don't need to keep, maybe I don't need all five of these Umbreon V alternate arts. Maybe I only need to sell four of them. Maybe I can keep
Yeah.
one of them.
Yeah.
After all, that profit made up for it. Those
E-
four made up for that one. So it's
Exactly.
basically free, right?
Yep. Collecting for free.
Basically
Yeah.
free, right? You don't know how often you hear that like in people. It's basically free. It's that collector logic. It's like collector math. You hear
Yep.
about girl math a lot. Like, no, it's collector math that you got to worry about. It's
It
not
is.
girl math.
Collector's math is a real thing. Yeah.
It's way more dangerous than any other math. It's collector's math because you're like, you'll be on there, you'll be making money, grading cards, and then all of a sudden you're taking those graded cards, putting them in your PC, and that
Hmm.
money you just made, suddenly you're like, wait a second.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean I look and you just pull out when you could just pull out like $500 cards here, $300 card here, $1,000 card here, and you start to just like pull yourself out of the hobby. And you look at like how ridiculous that is, you know? You're just like, that is so much money to just have. Like
A lot of money sloshing around, definitely for
it's
sure, just randomly in a piece of plastic.
yeah.
I wanted to ask you this earlier, and I think this is
Okay.
a good time to ask it though. So we talk about a lot of our wins and everything, but we oftentimes don't talk about a lot of our losses. And I definitely have had a few, and I most recently have a little lost play that I'd like to share. And if you have any lost plays you wanted to share, you're welcome to as well. But I've been grading a lot lately, and I've gotten so bullish with my grading that I started grading some non-Pokemon TCGs, and I'm getting punished with it by just having to sit on them. And so my most recent loss is I have a bunch of PSA 10 foil
Elsa's.
Arcana first chapter princesses. All of them are princesses I would love to sell for $30 to $40 each. Mickey's princesses, etc. I would love it to be $30 or $40 each on those foils, but God, I can't sell them to save my life. So I wasted probably about 20 to 30 different slabs worth of grading on a submission of just Lorcana foils, and I've only sold one single slab of that. So that's my loss for the week that
Yeah,
I
isn't it? Lorcana's a weird thing. It's like the high end of Lorcana is crazy liquid,
yeah.
and then anything lower end, stagnant, right?
Yeah, yeah. So that's exactly it. So I had a couple enchanteds and I graded and sold those. Those are great. And I thought, okay, well, people like the Enchanted's really high expensive stuff. They're like spending $500 on a slab. Surely
Yeah.
some kid who doesn't want to spend $500 might want an Elsa for $40 as a PSA 10 if
Hmm.
it's a foil, you know what I mean?
Because you're bringing
No.
the you're bringing the Pokemon thought into it because
Yeah.
people like the Umbreon VMAX alt art, and then in Pokemon they still buy the regular Umbreon V promo that you could get
Yep.
out of the tin as long as it's in a 10. People still buy that. They spend 25, 30, $40 on it. So you brought that thought process into another TCG.
Yep. So I'm gonna have those until the day I die, until 20 years go by, and finally Lorcana has its boom. But be careful out there, folks. Sometimes you get so bullish, and sometimes you make so much money that you have to get some money taken from you by PSA too at the same time. So
Yeah, I
they get
call
theirs.
yeah. I mean, I took a big loss. It was like a loss and a win as Professor Oak had graded the old maid cards. Everyone knows that play I talk about all the time. But then he sent a Uno card
Mhm.
to grade in, and he sent just one as a test, and they approved it. He let me know, and then I immediately picked up a shitload of Uno cards. I sent them all away. And before I got my grades back, I decided to send another submission to him because you get four Charizards per Uno deck. So I was just like, I bought I think like my first batch was like 15 or 20. So 20 times four is 80, just 80 Charizards alone, and then a bunch of other cards. Anyways, my first batch that I got back, sixes, eights, like one or two tens. I just
Ooh,
got murdered. But before I had got that submission back or the grades were released, I had already sent my second submission out because like I was overly bullish. Luckily, the same cards from the same deck got like 90% 10 rate.
okay.
Thanks a lot, PSA. So that was like a big loss I took for like the first round. I think I even have I think I even have some of like just
What
sitting
does
in
something
my.
like that auction for? I know you've probably tried it.
Ooh, wait, you know this card?
I
That's in
love
my
that.
my
Yeah.
unsorted box. Vaporeon from Sandstorm.
One of my all the evolutions in Sandstorm are so good. All of the pictures are so nice. The artwork is so good on
Yeah.
it.
So like here's a here's a Blastoise
Okay.
in an
What's something
8,
like that auction for?
99 cents. I mean, this is in my non-sorted box. Like these won't get sold.
GameStop would be there for you.
Nah. Like, oh, here we go. Like this is my field plays. Greninja and a 7.
Do
So
you grade with any other company besides PSA?
I've graded with other companies in the past, but right now the only company that makes sense, in my opinion, is PSA.
That was one of the things that I was going to ask you that when you said you wanted to go on and talk, it is one of the only things that I was thinking, like, I want to know what PK thinks about
I
this.
have like an old graded submission. Like there's one
What
company
is
that I
that?
graded with a long time ago, GMA.
Oh, yeah, I remember them. People were using
Yep.
them during the pandemic. But I was thinking about PSA and how I've come around to them recently. I used to be the biggest PSA naysayer because I was a really big player in the game. I came from Magic the Gathering. And so, like, I was a player of Pokemon that shifted to Magic the Gathering. And so I did a lot of TCG player selling, which focused a lot on playable cards and cards that were like hot in the game. So, like, my bias has always been against slabs and against collecting in general. It's more for the utility side, for the actual living card game side of the game. That's why I don't like numbered cards. That's why I've always been against serialized in hobbies. I feel like it would limit the card game, all these things, whatever. So it's definitely it. I literally just lost my train of thought right there. I
Well,
just heard my cat meow in the background and I
you're
lost my
talking
train.
about playing and everything. Well, why are
I
you
know,
thinking
but I
about
had a
like
point.
this is just a box
Oh,
of all
because
my
why I
graded.
didn't like PSA, right? So I was
Okay.
always a collector. I was never collector based. Recently, I changed my mind about that, and the reason why I love Pokemon, the reason why I've stayed with it, is because it's specifically a collector based hobby, and it gives it a lot more of that value behind something that I never understood. So I recently have started realizing the value that condition rarity, that having a real solid company that everyone uses, that there's a go-to, that has a financial guarantee, that you really can get behind how much value that adds to the space. So you don't hear me as much as negative as I used to be on PSA and people who collect slabs, because I understand it a little better now, and I actually think it adds value instead. So that leads me to my question though, is like why I actually think PSA to me is the only grading company, the only one that matters. And I think that's the only one I would personally ever be comfortable using. And it's the only one I'm ever comfortable suggesting people use. That's why this is going to be a show for PSA. Because are they the only one who has a financial guarantee attached to their cards? Like you can say if they misgrade your
I've
card,
heard CGC may have one, but I don't know.
I don't think CGC does.
I think they do because Dan was talking about it like because he sold like that the Yu-Gi-Oh test print card. There's been all the videos made about how it's like a fake card and
Yeah, I
people
know
that
which one
seem
you're
to
talking
know
about.
way
Yeah.
more than I know about the Yu-Gi-Oh cards. I don't know. And then I think Dan mentioned that one of the reasons he felt comfortable selling that card was because CGC had like a financial guarantee to it.
I don't think CGC does. Someone in the chat will have to correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure the only company, even Beckett, I don't think has a financial guarantee it's attached to it. And
Well,
and it's
Beckett
and
doesn't.
yeah, I know that. And I think
Beckett
that
Beckett won't even like re-slab their cards that are in their holders if they think the grade's not up to par.
because people get really bent out of shape about PSA upcharging for like value attached to the cards that they grade.
I do
But the
too.
only reason that they can do that, in my opinion, that makes it worth it and that makes it actually make sense is the fact that they have that financial guarantee attached to it, right? So,
Yeah.
like, as far as a collector is concerned, as far as a third party company is concerned, I personally don't value a single person, any other person on this planet's opinion more than I value my opinion when it comes to looking at a card and
Hmm.
evaluating it. But when it comes to like buying and selling a card and having a third party evaluator come in and guarantee a certain level of like grading, I feel like the only way I feel comfortable buying and selling and providing any sort of premium in that is if the company also provides a financial guarantee attached to it. So I personally have thought about this, and I actually don't think that anyone should ever grade with a company that does not 100% back their grade with a financial guarantee, because you're specifically giving that company all the money, as much money as they ask for whatever they determine is what their value is worth, and you're giving them complete trust and faith with your card to basically encapsulate it. And I mean, you're not trying to make it lower in value. So you have to basically trust them to not damage it. And so it just feels weird that any company would not have a financial guarantee or anyone would use someone that doesn't have one. But what do you think? Do you think that's necessary to have that financial guarantee for a grading to be valid?
Uh, to be valid, I mean, I don't know if it's needed to be valid, but to be considered the number one, it's a required. Like the thought of not having financial guarantee is super, super scary because it's not scary so much as this as that first seller. It's scary as the collector
Yes.
because what happens when you find out most people don't know if they're so this is the thing. If you grade a card with PSA and it's a real slab and PSA grades it, the average person can identify a fake card. And if it's a
Nope.
fake card, it's such a good fake that it already got through a PSA grade. It's probably going to get best past you with a simple eye check because now at that point, you can't feel it. You can't bend it. You can't look at it from the side. You can't really shine lights on it. And if it's in a PSA slab, it's a real slab. You instantly are going to believe that that card is authentic, right? So
Mhm.
now, if in the future it comes out that it wasn't real, PSA finds out that the person submitting those cards was a nefarious player, they deactivate all those certs, you might not even know.
Yep.
And given enough time, if you believe in Pokemon, prices start to go up. You could really, really be fucked if there's no financial guarantee to it. So PSA, especially on the highest end of this hobby, it's so important. Now, this is where Rattle's going to be listening to this video and go, yeah, that financial guarantee exists, but it's
Yeah,
freaking
that's a
really
whole
hard
different
to,
story. They're never going to pay you out. They're going to fight you tooth and nail. It's just like any insurance claim.
yeah,
They're going to try to fight for what's in their best interest is in their company paying the least amount possible, which
yeah.
that's why they're there. So the same is true for PSA. And I think that's totally true. And I think there's lots of egregious examples of PSA specifically not upholding that grading guarantee because they don't want to pay it out even though they know damn right that the card should be downgraded. I'm looking at you, Nido King. I'm looking at
Oh
you.
yeah.
Yeah. So,
That classic PSA like 6 PSA 10 Nido King, yeah.
but barring those weird, obscure cases that you hear about that are all over Reddit and everything,
Yeah.
I think that for the most part, if you get a card that's counterfeit and you buy it on the open market and you are that third buyer, that fourth buyer down the road, the fact that PSA, you should be able to contact them and get your 100, $200 back through their guarantee department or something, and you just send them back the card or however it works. I've never actually had to do it. That right there in itself is so valuable, and it makes it so that I personally would never recommend any other company that doesn't offer that. And I've completely changed my tune and thoughts about grading companies. Only the grading companies that have that offer. And it blows my mind. And I only bring it up because this was only brought up recently when the green shiz, the shit happened
Mm,
with Tag and the Zapdos grading. It
yeah.
made me realize very, very like distinctly that not all grading companies will have their end buyer. They'll be even to make them whole, and it's
Hmm.
not in the contract. It's not even their responsibility really. But
Yeah.
a company that does do that, I think, is that's gold. So I guess I didn't like I said this is going to turn into being a show for PSA. So maybe they'll sponsor us after this, but
Yeah,
it
what
is one of the good things about it.
yeah. I mean, what you're saying makes sense. Financial guarantee. It's just the problem is most cards in this hobby are sub $100, you know?
Yeah, and it doesn't
So,
matter. And it really doesn't matter at that point. And it's just like the theory though and the ethic, and it just makes more sense. So yeah, I guess no
when
point for
I
the rant, but that
when
was
I
the one
look at
thought I
grading
had.
though, I look at that, but I also try to look at, well, s- forget about today, especially if you're a collector. If you are going to die with that card, that's one thing. But the reality is most people aren't going to die with their card. So you got to kind of look into the future, 5, 10, 15 years, which is a really, really hard thing to do when you're looking a decade into the future. But the question is, what company is going to be around in 5 and 10 years from now? And in 5 to 10 years from now, which company slab still holds that premium, right? Because you don't want to sell your card in 10 years and not get full market value. You want to get max market value. And PSA in 10 years is going to give you that opportunity. Now, a GMA slab or an AGS slab or a tag grading slab or a tree frog grading slab or an ace grading slab or put 3 letters together for me real quick, like a LMNOP slab. I can't tell you in 10 years if these cards or slab companies are even around in 10 years. And I definitely are leaning towards that those cards still don't have a premium. We've
I mean,
seen
there
it
are big
happen right now
companies
with
that have done.
CGC. We're seeing it happen right now with CGC with their 10s versus PSA 10s. Now, the pristine 10s are doing well, but the regular 10s are really, really, really struggling. Like in some cases, $100,000 less. We saw a Beckett, or excuse me, a CGC regular Gem Mint 10 first edition Charizard sell for like 50 grand. The PSA 10, Dan just sold one at auction not too long ago for like 216,000. That's $150,000 difference. They're both first edition Charizards in a 10. One's a CGC 10, one's a PSA 10, but there was $150,000. Now, the problem in this hobby is there's so many people doing Pokemon as a quote unquote business, and the amount of money that some people have left on the table by grading with CGC is a preposterous amount of money. I mean, we talk about some stuff being a liquid in this hobby. CGC nines, good night, you know?
Well, imagine this whole stack. Okay, so imagine this stack of Watsy hollows getting graded with SGC. You
Yeah,
know,
I
good night.
good
SGC
night.
sevens, 6.5s, you know what I mean? That's
At that
darkness.
point, you have to now eat the grading free fee, crack them, and sell them raw. You could just go back to start, you know?
And you'll get more doing that than just getting
Yeah,
rid of them in the slabs with
in
the
the slab,
SGC.
yeah. You would take a loss selling it in the slab opposed to just selling it in, MP condition.
Yeah, it's the funniest thing. Yeah, I guess that's the biggest thing that I think most people learn very quickly on in this hobby when they start grading is they take the shortcut route of grading it with their local card shop or using the cheapest, quickest, most easy turnaround because they don't want to pay the membership fee to PSA or they don't want to do this or don't want to do the 20 card minimum to do a bulk order. Whatever the reason is behind why someone doesn't just go straight to PSA, I've heard it all, but it always leads to the same outcome. It leads to you walking up to me at the local show with your box of slabs in your shoebox and desperately begging me what you could get trade in value for those slabs, and me having to look you dead ass in the eye and tell you I couldn't give you $5 a slab for that stuff.
Yeah.
And, you know, that
And,
that being the reality.
and I mean, I know people are on the fence and are still hit or miss, but CGC's changing their label. One of the beautiful things about CGC is people are like, I like the comics, I like the label. And then people are like, I want my slabs to, like
Match everything.
match everything. But then CGC literally in the middle of they already have like 2 million slabs at that point. They changed the label. So all those people that were like, I like the cohesion of having all CGC labels, now you got two very distinct labels. And from we are deep in the rabbit hole. We know I could now identify a CGC blue label slab. So here's a CGC blue label slab from the distance. You know exactly what this is. If I had that other one, you would know what it is. Average person off the street, no clue. Would be like, is that two different grading card
Yeah,
companies? One that no. Now, PSA slabs, while the label has changed throughout the years,
you know what that is.
you
Yeah.
know what it is. Sure, the back is different. It might have
Oh,
a
maybe
lighter
it's a
blue.
blue lighthouse instead of red. Maybe you got one
Yeah,
of the old blue ones, but it still looks the same. Yeah.
it's, yeah. I mean, there you go.
There's something to be said about the consistency of a company and
Yeah.
making it being really brand recognizable. There's
So
something really important about that.
the backs are different, but now when I flip it from the front, you know they were both PSA. You
Yep.
knew it instantly. So
Like some of them don't have barcodes. That's how you know they're really, really old, is because
really
they
old,
just have the
yeah.
number.
I mean, some of them don't have the holographic PSA too here. That's how
Yep.
you know they're really old.
But they come in all shapes and sizes, and we love the tens regardless. If it's a young cert or a new cert or an old cert, we like them all.
Yeah.
They're all the different certs.
I mean, this is a real old cert. You can tell. See how
But
it's
are we on nines? Are we in the millions yet? Are we still in the
yeah, we're
nines?
in the nines. You see that?
We're past the millions, but
So this is an older because like the newer labels, do you see the newer labels? See how they're that?
the hollow.
No.
I feel like with CGC, their main purpose and function in this hobby, and the best thing that they have done for us in this hobby is provide that clear like fire under PSA to be a sort of a competitor, even
Sure.
though that's hard to call them a competitor. I do feel like the fact that they were so aggressive on like really labeling and finding out and seeking the errors and all the misprints and stuff, it sort of it encouraged PSA to start doing a little more inclusive grading with some of those kind of cool errors
Yeah.
and misprints that they never did before. And it also encouraged them maybe to be a little quicker with their turnaround time, maybe a little more competitive with their pricing. And it's just always nice to have that other company to really bounce back. And so even though I would
Competition's
never
always good.
personally, yeah, you need to have that. So
Yeah.
I would never grade personally with them. I like them existing. So like I hope they still exist and are like a strong competitor for them just for the sole reason that it will provide in a reason to keep on pushing forward for those other companies. Thank you, capitalism.
Yeah, I mean, I graded a lot of cards with CGC when PSA had the crazy turnaround times, and I just got destroyed by CGC. Eight fives, nines. I got destroyed off of cards that I knew were cut off the same sheet because the cards came out of theme decks. So because they came out of theme decks, if anybody knows, like if anybody out there is questioning, theme decks get printed on the same sheet. People are not in the factory hand sorting out theme decks. That would be the most ridiculous thing ever. So I was grading cards from theme decks that I knew were on the same sheet in the same row, and they were giving them different centering grades because I was paying for subgrades and getting eight, fives, nines. And then, I mean, still in the process, I had 100% crossover rate to PSA with tens,
They were
cracking
just
these
rolling the
eight, five.
dice on you. They were
Yeah.
literally just rolling dice.
Yeah. And it was, I was like all about CGC. I was super bullish on. I was hyping them up. I'm like, this is going to be great. I never got a return back from them when I was doing that because I thought competition was good. And then I watched the way they graded these, and I don't know. I've had a lot of conversation. I've had private conversations with certain people that were really like deep in the CGC, and one of the things that person told me was CGC was just afraid to hand out tens. That was like their answer to me when I brought it up to them, and they helped CGC create their grading scales. That's a bullshit answer. Afraid to hand out tens? Like that didn't sit right with me either, just hearing that as like an answer from an actual insider of the company that they're afraid.
I
So
feel like their standards, they were trying to be more like Beckett maybe when they first started and being like that really hard to get 10, but then their standards shifted so many times in that time frame that
you,
their customer base didn't know what to
you
expect.
can't gatekeep that hard though, too. And then
Right.
I had a huge problem with CGC is that at the time they had their highest grade was behind a paywall too. So
Oh,
you
yeah, to get
can't
the subgrades. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
so CGC right now, so CGC has two tens. They have the Gem Mint 10 now and the Pristine 10. Before they changed their grading scales, they still had two tens. One was the Pristine 10, and then one was the Perfect 10. And the Perfect 10 was like a Beckett Black Label, had 10 across the board, 10 centering, edges, corners. Wait, centering, edges, corners, corners. All tens across the board. And that was the CGC Perfect. But in order to get subgrades at CGC, you had to pay to get subgrades. So if you didn't pay to get subgrades, the highest possible grade you can get was the pristine grade. You couldn't even get a perfect 10. And that's bullshit. You should not like paywall your highest grade. So an example being for Beckett is if you just do a regular Beckett submission and you don't pay for subgrades, if your card is a black label, they automatically give you the subgrades for free because
Now you pay $3 for it. That's one small
well,
change with Beckett.
they upcharge you though,
Yeah, you get
but
an
they still
upcharge.
give it to you.
They don't gatekeep you though. Yeah.
So in for CGC originally, it wasn't even an option. If your card was a perfect 10, they would only give you a pristine because you didn't pay for subgrades. And you cannot paywall your highest grade. That was a huge issue I had with CGC. And then CGC changed that. And then they ended changing the grading scales, getting rid of perfect 10 completely.
I mean, they've changed it so many times. I think that that's one of the bigger problems. Like, if you change it one time, your grading scale, you
Yeah.
can do that sneakily, very quietly, and people are okay with it. PSA does it all the time.
Hmm.
But to do it so aggressively, so many times, so publicly, it
Yeah.
really makes, when you're a new company, it's really hard to like get behind that. When grading is already so arbitrary, it's hard
Yeah.
when you're already like, so yeah,
Yeah.
it's the only reason I think that we will both agree with them existing right now is to be that competitor point for the other grading companies. So
Yeah, I remember when CGC first put out their pop report, I was curious and one of the cards it was like PSA had it was an 80% Gem Mint 10 rate and it was the non-hollow Charizard from Vivid Voltage. It was just a normal rare. A lot of them were graded. There was 2,300 of them graded at CDC and there was only two tens and they were both pristines And so no subgrades. The 9.5s, when you looked at the subgrades for the pop report, it was just a bazillion of them. And it's like, okay, how are you going to have a card that 80% tens at PSA and you only given 2 out of 2,300? Whatever. That's I'll move on. I do have to go to bed soon, so I'm gonna try to scroll down on the chat a little bit.
Yeah, and if anyone has any more questions or anything, definitely say something. I'll go back to the YouTube chat so I can actually see some of them
So
as well.
Dan did say CGC does have like that guarantee we were talking about.
Okay, so I was wrong about CGC. Well, that makes me far more comfortable with CGC, and it makes me feel like they're doing at least something right with that, because that's something that you have to actually, like, as a company, you have to have some confidence in what you're doing to offer that. So,
Yeah.
you
Real
know,
quick, son of a Mewtwo, we appreciate the super chat. He says, "Love the content, love the discussion." Appreciate son of a Mewtwo. I also love the discussion too. I'm very happy Josh was willing to come on tonight.
yeah, I appreciate everyone who came in here. What do we got? How many people we got here? Wow, 106 people watching. That's
Yeah.
incredible. In a
Uh,
Pokemon random marketing. I thought you said these things weren't popular, PK.
you know, I'm always shocked at how many people tune in week after week and just, I don't know. It just shows you how strong the hobby is still.
I'm gonna start blushing. I didn't know there was this many people here. That's like more people than I know in real life, probably.
Uh, all right, Josh, I do have to go to bed because I have to prepare for my kid's birthday tomorrow morning. I got to put up I got a big white tent, you can fit like three like folding tables under it, but I got to put the tent up by myself. It's gonna suck.
I am also getting up early tomorrow because I have to drive 2 hours to go vend in San Jose, a town that's a little bit far away from where I'm at, but it's a nice town. So the one little caveat to that is after the show, I get to have Italian ice and a custard as a little dessert treat for myself,
I
because
like it.
it's a weird dessert that I'm obsessed with that isn't anywhere near me now, but in this where I'm vending at, there's right next door, there's like a little place that serves it, and I always get it when I go there. So I'm actually looking forward to that.
I love
Looking
it,
forward to
man.
the show, but I'm looking forward to the little treat afterwards too.
Well, Josh, good luck. Let me know how that binder works out for you too. I hope you listen. I hope you're just always successful at these shows. I hope everybody's super successful. Are you going any plans for Collecticon? Maybe Jersey in the future?
I recently found out a hack, a flight hack on how to get really, really cheap flights. And so it made me think about maybe in the future maybe doing a collect con on the fly, possibly. And if it
Ooh,
was going to be one, it would probably be Chicago or maybe Jersey. So depending on
ooh.
what time frame
I
or
like the maybe Jersey thought.
it would be
There
one
will
of
be.
those two East Coasters. So it just kind of depends on what my other show schedule looks like. But yeah,
Yeah,
if you're
man.
gonna find me at
Hey,
any collect con, maybe look out for
I'll
later in the
listen.
year.
I'll
It
be
might
at
be
Jersey. My table is going to be wide open on Sunday, so you have a free table on Sunday. It's only one table, but you'll have a free table for a day.
at about at the very least I've considered, because like I found a way to get flights for like $200 to the East Coast basically for like
Oh,
round trip,
that's
which
great.
is so cheap that it makes me feel like if I had a room to split with someone at one of these collecticons, I can almost not justify not going just to like source product, or just to do a couple, buy some cards while I'm there or something. It's just so cheap. So
Well, weekend of July 20th, you already got a free table for a day. You're already halfway there, man.
yeah, we're almost there at that point. So yeah, so you guys might see me at a collecticon. It might not be totally planned, because the hack to get flights that cheap is you have to go like literally 1 week before. You have to be
Hmm.
looking at like, just being
Okay, yeah.
flexible with your and being flexible, looking at cancellations on the website and stuff. And I have the benefit of being able to be flexible, so I can find very cheap flights. I've found, and I at this last at card party, if I didn't have other engagements and other things I need to do, I would have been able to get there for $225 to Florida, which is
Wow.
just insane. But just life made it so that could happen. But now I know in the future it's something that does work. And I think it's a hack that if you're able to do, reach out to me. I'll show you what I do. I'll give you my tricks for how I found that, but reach out to me if you want.
And speaking of reaching out to Josh, if you guys are curious where Josh's links are, they are in the description of this video. There's a link for both Josh's Instagram accounts. So if you want to get a little link for that Packway and database, blow up his messages. And then also his YouTube channel. Again, guys, highly recommend you guys checking out. Highly recommend you checking out his Cardboard Hand podcast. But guys, as always, I could appreciate every single one of you. I know I could speak for Josh. He appreciates every single one of you guys too. If it wasn't for you guys, we would not be making this video. But as always, guys, we'll catch you on the next video. Alrighty, it should be over.
Nice. Well, I appreciate you.